The wait is almost over. 7:01 on this 5th day of November, and it belongs to the United States election night for the 2024 general election. CJ Nasello, Dan Herket in the studio. And a little bit of a late night back for us here in the Madison County portion of the state, and really just here locally. Not a lot of contested races, but we will go through the results as they come in, a couple of ballot measures. We are going to be talking to the presumptive winners of these races, some of these, again, uncontested, so we will have some conversations. But, you know, right now the polls have been starting to close for over 2 hours at this point in time, and so far, we know, well, not too much yet.
Nothing overly surprising at this point.
And, you know, Dan, right off the bat, you know, what are you looking for just, you know, just taking it here locally before we talk about the national election? Anything you're just kind of interested to see?
Well, locally, I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion in the races. I don't think we're going to see any big surprises anywhere in the region tonight.
Yeah, and we're talking specifically, you know, to the Amy Ellick race against Nick Rapopoulos, and then Nikki Budzinski against Joshua Lloyd. So right now, as it sits, honestly, both candidates that are incumbents there seem to be, you know, pretty confident just talking to them ahead of the race the last couple of weeks. Now, as you've been getting some numbers too, Dan, you've been really doing a lot of research just on the last midterm. I know the last time candidates here locally ran. The one that, you know, folks have kind of, I guess, kept an eye on was Katie Stewart's race against Jake Keevan. Last time around the horn, what'd Katie Stewart do?
She was somewhere around 54% in the last two general elections. That district, it leans her direction. We'll see how things shake out tonight. I've been saying for weeks, the key to tonight, the key word, women, women, women across the country. We'll see how that shakes out, but the turnout among women is going to be a huge discussion of where this race goes nationally.
And now let's talk, as you're just mentioning nationally, you know, the last couple of weeks, these polls, I mean, just seems like it just flip a coin scenario for some of the ones that come in. You know, how important is it not to get caught up in just watching those polls, but also to see where interests lie in specific states?
Well, having dealt with polls throughout my career in politics, it has changed a lot in the last few election cycles. We're seeing a lot more of what they call herding because 2016 was so off by the pollsters. So I take polls with a grain of salt. I always go in and dive in and look at the methodology they've used, the sampling they've used, to see if the numbers are even worth the time to give any thought to. But at the end of the day, I see multiple paths to how the evening could go. The most likely is it's going to be close, like it has been the last two elections. I mean, if certain states break one way or the other, you could see somebody win big. But at the end of the day, I think we're in for a long night.
I wanted to follow up with you on that. That's a great point. Right now, just in what we're seeing from national coverage on just the presidential side of things, you know, Donald Trump performing in some cases better than he was in 2020, but Kamala Harris on the flip side outperforming Joe Biden in some of those races so far in 2020.
So that's what we're seeing from some of the early exit polls, but I've never been a fan of exit polls. I just as soon watch the actual results county by county and compare those over exit polls. But at the end of the day, for former President Trump, if he can flip Georgia back and hold North Carolina, his math is a whole lot easier. If Harris holds Georgia and potentially flips North Carolina, it gets really difficult for former President Trump.
Well, and, you know, another thing that we've been kind of just keeping an eye on, too, just here on the show and just on Riverbender, too, has been the Ray Hartman against Dan Ragnar race in Missouri, too. Now, you know, Real Career Politics threw out an outlier poll, I think, because we talked about that today. It seemed like it was more of a lean category. But after looking at the numbers, it's and you know, how I've, you know, been with Ray, it just seems like not the best case scenario over there.
From what I've seen in that race and the prognosticators, so to speak, that I look at and trust, that race has never been on the radar of anybody, either party. it just seems like Ray never got a campaign off the ground to where everybody, took interest in it. You didn't see a lot of money come flying into it. I just don't think there's much to see in that race tonight.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and we'll just stay up to date on all of these. Now let's go to Madison County specifically. Here's what some of the what we're seeing on the Madison County voters turnout website, and really so many counties have updated the software. It's become a little bit more interesting. So far, no votes have been tallied at 7:05. As there's 184,000 plus registered voters in the state. They gave out some early voter numbers, but I'm not comfortable enough to really relay those because the numbers that we saw didn't really add up to our specific area. And I'll just be honest about it. I don't know 123 over 100-year-olds that could vote early.
I don't either. That's why I don't put a lot of stock in those. Let's just wait for the results precinct by precinct. Let's do it the old-fashioned way.
Now, Dan, if it's okay, let's talk about some of these. There are a couple advisories on the ballot this time around the horn. Which one are you looking at specifically out of the three?
Well, one that I look at is this whole separation advisory referendum, and it's not only Madison County. There's multiple counties in the region and across the state of Illinois that have that. Quite frankly, I think it's kind of weird to me, but I get it. People don't like what happens in northern Illinois, the collar counties, Cook County, but at the end of the day, if we were to separate, we would lose money and ultimately have to raise taxes or cut services, because when you look at how tax money is divided in Illinois, places like Madison County and our surrounding counties get more money back from the state than we put in, and Cook County, that everybody seems to hate, gets less money back than they put in. So to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. To me, the way you change it is you go convince more voters to vote your way and agree with you.
Well, and so it really, to me, is just more of a protest vote at this point, because I don't see an end game for this separation.
I don't either, but I understand it as well.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
I'll tell you flat out, I probably have more friends that are on that side of the aisle than I have on one that I tend to agree with. So I get it, and I love to talk about it, but at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter. We're not going to see states anywhere. There's other states that have this. We've seen it in Washington with some of Western Washington wanting to join Idaho. Ultimately, the process for that to actually happen, it's never going to happen.
Absolutely. And so with that being said, a couple of different, individuals on the ballot. Now, what I thought was interesting, and it could just be the way that it's redistricted, and I want to talk about that here in a second. Mary Miller has no opponent in her race. Is that because of the way the maps are drawn?
Well, she doesn't. Mike Boss doesn't. It's the way our map was drawn after the latest round of redistricting. Those would be tough districts for any Democrat to run in. That's just the numbers are favorable to Republicans.
Well, and this is something I've talked about for years on both sides of this river too, is the fact that, this redistricting is becoming a little bit of an issue when it comes to elections. I mean, it seems like now it's time to win the primary more than it is to win the general. And
well,
when do we get back to normal?
For all my years of working in campaigns, I would look for, like anybody on either side of the aisle, you look for any advantage you can get. But we've started drawing districts so packed with voters of one ideology or the other that they run in a primary to their base, and this happens in Democratic districts and Republican districts, that nobody can, when they get to Congress, comes back to the center, because in an election they don't have general elections where they have to appeal to what I would argue is a larger section of the electorate than the base of either party.
I completely agree. And, with that being said, it did seem like just here locally, kind of honing in, that early voting really did kind of ramp up, that there was some more interaction from it, just, from our county alone.
Well, I think you're seeing it across the country. There's been more in-person early voting in this election compared to 2020, which is an outlier because of COVID. We saw a lot more mail ballots, which did make it a lot more difficult to get results quickly. I think tonight we're going to see more quick results in some places. Places like Wisconsin, Milwaukee always takes till the wee hours of the morning. Pennsylvania could be close enough. We could be waiting for a few days. And then we have Nevada and Arizona on the West Coast that are going to take a while. California will come in late, and the majority in the House runs partially through California.
Now, and I want to make a point on that. That's a great thought. Just for the folks that might watch something on the national television tonight and go, hey, NBC, ABC, Fox called something for whoever. We rely on the Associated Press, as that is our national partner, and that's who we will utilize to make projections on the national level. Now, I wanted to ask about this tax question that was on the local ballot in Madison County. I don't know if you're too familiar with this one, but to me, whenever you have a tax question, I mean, normally for an uninformed voter, that's an automatic no a lot of the times, correct?
Yeah, in general, especially in this part of the state.
Is it? Okay, I'm not being funny.
Well, no, I mean, 4 years ago, we saw a big election for a constitutional amendment to go to a graduated tax in Illinois. The anti-side on that ran a better campaign and defeated that. I supported it, but at the end of the day, you see these tax issues, and most of the time, I think in the world we live in right now, they're going to fail.
Absolutely. And just kind of going through some things, we are keeping an eye on just a few of the questions that are out there, in Calhoun County, not a lot either. Macoupin County, not very much to report on, too. We're going to stay up to date. We do have those live feeds going as well. We have all the information coming to us. Registered voters in Macoupin County are now up to 31,516. I know that's up from last time around, too, so good to see that. Early on so far, is there anything that you could even see shaking up a local race like an Amy Ellick, Nick Rapopoulos? Is there anything that could be an outlier to even talk about when it comes, and not being mean, but just the numbers don't lie at this point at where we're at?
I'm not seeing anything locally that, I mean, could there be some massive wave of female voters or young voters? But I'm not seeing that locally. I think locally, if there is a surprise tonight, it will be a true surprise.
Absolutely. And so as we're looking right now, nothing really too crazy happening out there. The polls are now closed in several of the states, and so many of them too close to call. But, you've been a part of so many campaigns, Dan. What does the campaign talk about at this point in the night? Is it evaluating probability? Is it just kind of relaxing? What is that?
Nobody,
no relaxing?
I can tell you, nobody's relaxing. What people are looking at is turnout. They're looking at, did they turn their ID'd voters out? Those are the main things. You have win numbers is what you generate. You can do that down to the precinct level, and you're looking to see if you're hitting your benchmarks. And if you are, you're feeling pretty good. If you're not feeling so good.
So we do have some national numbers to give you right now. Currently, the Associated Press has former President Donald Trump at 95 electoral votes, winning the states of Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Oklahoma have been called for Donald Trump. Vice President Harris has won the states of Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Maryland. She is up currently in New Hampshire and New Jersey. Donald Trump up in Texas, Georgia, and Kansas as well. The one to look at, and we were talking about this to start the election show off, was this North Carolina question, because now that some of the exit polls or just some of the stats are coming in, this could make a little bit of a play for Donald Trump's math to get a little bit more hard.
Well, if he holds it, his math becomes a lot easier, as I said at the beginning. And if he could flip Georgia back, his math really becomes a lot easier. But if Vice President Harris holds on to Georgia or flips North Carolina, that makes her math a whole lot easier. Ultimately, we're going to see what happens in the blue wall, because they put a lot of effort, both campaigns, into the blue wall.
And, that really is becoming a phrase that our generation's really becoming so familiar with, because this blue wall has been so important in the last presidential elections.
Well, for a Democrat to win in this country, the blue wall is essential. And we saw that in 2016 when it flipped from Democrat to former President Trump.
Absolutely. We're still awaiting some of the first results of Madison County to start trickling in, as they have a new reporting system. So far, nothing reporting yet at 7:14. But I'm sure we'll start getting the trickle in. At 7:14 and a little bit of change, we'll do this. We'll take our first break of the night. We'll take a look at some of the races as we come back, county-wide and throughout the Riverbend viewing area. You stay there. We'll stay here in studio. It's finally here. I feel like this campaign lasted for 35 of them. And we'll be back with more on Election Night Tuesday right after this.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof, because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready, future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
When life throws unexpected challenges your way, you need a versatile legal ally to protect you. Sean Lentz, with over 12 years of experience, is here to help you in a variety of avenues. From personal injury to criminal defense and even semi-truck accidents, Sean Lentz has your back. Don't wait for the justice that you deserve. Call 618-465-8000 and see how Sean can help you today.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
Ready for fantastic deals? Head to Village Dispensary, where every day is a celebration. Start your week with 25% off Dog Walker pre-rolls on Monday. Tuesday, enjoy 25% off Dibs gummies. On Wednesday, enjoy 30% off Nevada pens. On Thursday, it's 30% off CQ sodas, margaritas, and more. Friday, enjoy 3.5 grams of Megatron by NGW and Cronuts number 4 by Paul Bunyan for $25. Visit VillageDispo.com and shop now.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Welcome back to our election night coverage. CJ Nasello with Dan Herket on RiverBender.com, Roku TV. Thanks for tuning in. This is not 2022, man, and here locally. But, sometimes those things happen, those give and takes of the excitement. And now, a few congressional races were looking a little exciting. Anything right now that's piquing your interest?
Nothing at this point right now.
Nothing. And then, as we're getting back in, we're still awaiting those first results to come in from Madison County. We'll wait for them to come in through Macoupin and all the counties here in Illinois as we're officially going to start getting some reporting numbers. With that being said, you have a couple of races to look out for here locally. That's the congressional race for the 13th district in Illinois, Joshua Lloyd against Nikki Budzinski. It really doesn't seem like Nikki does have too much to be nervous about if you're in her campaign. Same on Amy Ellick's side as she's taken on Nick Rapopoulos, and it looked like both candidates were getting out there and getting some messaging across, but doesn't seem like it's really changed anything right now. A couple of folks don't have opponents. That's Christopher Davidsmeyer. C.D. Davidsmeyer's running unopposed. So is Charlie Meyer. Jay Keevan taking on Katie Stewart and Jay Hoffman running unopposed. David Michael is running unopposed for auditor. Tom Hain ran unopposed for state's attorney. Patrick McRae ran unopposed for circuit clerk. And the same around really so many of these. Coroner ran unopposed. Nick Novicic is going to be the presumed winner. Chris Slusser running unopposed in the Madison County Board Chairman race. And then now for county board seats, Linda Ogden is running unopposed. Now Donald McCaster is taking on Robert Pollard in the 12th precinct there in Madison County. And Matthew King taking on Bryn Kinkelo in the 13th precinct. And then Terry Eaker running unopposed. Linda Wolf taking on Jim Tricano. And then Paul Nicolausi is taking on Carol Hogan Downey. We'll keep you updated on those. A few more races. Fred Schulte taking on Cheryl Haggerty. Chris Guy taking on Stacy Leip. Jason Palmero taking on Jackie Day. And then when it comes to a few of the other ones, just some retention questions. And do you ever have any excitement when it comes to a judicial retention? Has there ever been locally any excitement?
I don't recall any locally. I mean, I was involved in some judicial races many years ago that were interesting, but it seems like some of that has fallen off. We did see a Supreme Court justice lose retention 2 years ago, Justice Kilbride up north. And there was a ton of money spent in that race, but it doesn't seem like there was any concerted effort here locally to try to keep any of the judges under 60%.
Absolutely. We're just keeping the conversation going because we're just now starting this evening off, and it's just kind of getting going. And in Illinois, a couple of news outlets have already called that one for Harris too. So we're getting there and closer to just the tried and true map that we've all come to get to know. But what's going to be interesting too is just seeing, you know, what some of these numbers look like in some of these municipal counties and some of these suburban counties and some of these swing states, man. Well,
it's going to come down to the so-called 7 or so swing states. North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. You could throw Minnesota in there. I don't think is on the radar this time. New Hampshire, somewhat. They call it the blue dot in Nebraska, the one congressional district that does seem to be going for Harris this round. And then you have the congressional district in Maine that may go for former President Trump.
Well, and now as we're starting to get some countywide races, and just from our Riverbend region, and I'll give you some projected winners here in a second as we're getting this prepared. You know, as these races start to come into play, when you maybe get a lot of heat, or maybe a lot of volume from a national election, how important is it as a local statewide candidate to not, in some places, use that national talking point, and to also, in other instances, refrain from it and focus on your district? Does that come into play a lot?
So, some people want to nationalize races, and some people want to keep them local. I would suggest probably here locally that Democrats are trying to keep things localized, where Republicans might be more inclined to nationalize their races. Because we've, over the past, say, 16 years, we've seen how Madison County has done a flip from a Democratic county to a Republican county, just evidenced by the fact that Democrats couldn't even field candidates against our countywide Republican candidates.
Absolutely. And as we're now starting to get the first projection of our night here locally, I think I can make this projection now, or start to be somewhat close to it. Mark Kern has won his re-election bid pretty early on in the night in St. Clair County. He will retain his county chairman status. Really just a big night, really not one we really anticipated.
Well, I would call that likely to happen. We don't have any numbers out of the city of East St. Louis, but he's doing very well in the rest of St. Clair County.
As you can see, I mean, okay, I get what you're saying here. He's up big. I thought they already projected that. It must be the new software mechanisms they're using where they highlight the leading candidate. We'll take it away, but I'm going to go ahead and say right now that's a pretty good jump for where you need it to be.
It's
at.
A good
My
initial.
apologies. We're all learning software today.
It's a good initial start. I mean, we don't know where the votes are coming from right now I could try to dive in by precinct with St. Clair County, but his numbers are running pretty well down there, but I don't think going in anybody thought that he was in danger of losing.
Absolutely not. Well, and that's something I'm glad that we found that out early before we got into the thick of things and started wondering why some of these races were looking the way they were. With that being said, Dan, as we're starting to get more and more of these things starting to come in, we'll give you a few of the results here shortly. But are you seeing anything just on social media, any pundits talking about anything that they're seeing?
Quite honestly, I have been avoiding social media for most of the day because, quite honestly, and I have no problem with this. Twitter or X or whatever the hell they call it now is owned by Elon Musk. He can do with it as he wants, and he's clearly a supporter of former President Trump. So we're going to see how that social media organization operates tonight. We have gotten reporting that Mr. Musk is going to be with former President Trump tonight. And then, to this point, any of the social media, I don't want to argue with people. I would rather stick with things that I know to be true than just something I just read on social media. So I'm avoiding it at this point.
At 7:24, we can give you the First of the St. Clair County results, Mark Kern is up, 61-38 over Ryan Musick. Jim Cormerick had no candidate. He's going to be just fine. Now, for circuit clerk, Kenneth Williams Sr. is leading Cindy McDonald right now, 56-43%, with about 24% of the voters being accounted for so far. For county coroner, Calvin Dye Sr. is up by 19 points so far, 59% to Dean Darnall's 40%, with 24% of the vote in. Other races that have some weight to it for county recorder, Michael Crockett Jr. is up by 17 points to Jason Madlock. For county board of review for a 2-year term, Irma Galladay is leading with 24% of the vote over Brian Triska. For county board of review for a full term with 24% of the vote, Amanda Warma is beating Tyler Thompson convincingly so far in the game, with more numbers to report. But those are the first shots that we've gotten so far, snapshots of 2024 from St. Clair County. Always for you too to be a data guy and to really look at numbers, it's got to be interesting to see how people think and what kind of shapes their opinions, because it used to be maybe the weight of an endorsement carried a lot of weight. Now does it carry the same? We're going to find out tonight.
We are, because we're seeing endorsers on both sides of the aisle this time that we have not seen before. We'll see if any of these influencers, these celebrities, have any real sway with voters.
Absolutely. And folks, still waiting to see if Madison County's results are starting to trickle in. We keep getting these updates every couple of minutes here. No precincts reporting so far in Madison County. In Macoupin County, it looks to be the same. St. Clair County is the only one that's turned over their vote. We will check Jersey County as well. Nothing being reported on. And then back to Calhoun County, 0 of 56 reporting yet. So we'll just hang tight and see what happens here. Now let's go back to the national side of things and see if anything's shaping up as we can look. As the only good thing with time is more numbers will be counted. Hopefully. Right now, the Associated Press has Ohio strongly favoring Donald Trump. We all expected that.
No shock there.
Pennsylvania numbers are starting to come in, but still a little too early to tell, do you think?
Oh, I have no doubt we're going to be waiting on Pennsylvania for a while.
Kansas is a little bit interesting so far, is leaning Harris's way, according to the Associated Press. Nothing to hold your breath over?
I wouldn't think so. I would say that Kansas will ultimately go to the former president, but they do have a Democratic governor.
So it's always interesting, and especially in the midterms, that abortion ruling really did affect Kansas big time.
It did. It was a bit surprising to me how Kansas voted on their abortion measure. And it'll be interesting to see how Florida votes on theirs, Missouri votes on theirs. There's a multitude of states that have reproductive rights on the ballot in this election.
One thing I'm interested to, speaking of Missouri, is their sports betting measure, because
there's two. There's sports betting, and then there's the casino measure at Lake of the Ozarks. So those will be very interesting. My gut feeling. And I'm not here tonight to make predictions,
right.
but since that's Missouri, I think the abortion measure to legalize will pass. I've heard some things and read some things that maybe the sports betting might not pass.
That'd be good for our area.
Well, it's good for Illinois to keep some coming over here, and it may very well. That's just some anecdotal articles that I read trying to keep up on it.
So just to inform you all, I'm using some of the Missouri outlets. There haven't been too many things reported. There have been one set of votes counted so far, and it's not very many, just 12,000 votes. For Missouri's Amendment 3, the right to an abortion. Right now, early on, down by about 3,000 votes in that measure. Going to be interesting to see how that state goes.
Well, we don't know where those votes in Missouri are coming from.
We have no idea.
At this, probably smaller rural counties, I would guess, at this point.
Now, the Missouri 7 citizenship vote is currently right around the same vote totals, with 8,000 in favor of it, 76% to 23%, but still way too early to tell. And we're just, I'm just kind of throwing some numbers out that I'm just following along with. Nothing really too exciting over there locally, and nothing being reported here in Madison County. We'll take you back to St. Clair County, where Mark Kern is still holding a very commanding lead. There's still about 24% of the vote, and Now, St. Clair County, and it seems like a lot of these counties are really changing up their software to make it easier for citizens to stay up to date on this and get some good data.
Well, it's definitely not like when I first started in the business, where we would have people sitting at the county clerk's office getting the paper copies and calling them back to us so we could put the numbers into our own spreadsheets.
Well, and right now, too, on St. Clair County's website, I don't know if you're seeing this, they actually have the voter breakdown on voting type, township, and precinct, which I think is really good information for anybody to have going forward.
Well, as a political junkie, I always love when they do certify the election results and I can look at them precinct by precinct, particularly in Madison and St. Clair counties, because I'm more familiar with those areas. But it's always fun to dive into precinct level data when you're kind of a political junkie and you like numbers.
Absolutely. We're still waiting for results from our local areas. Right now, St. Clair County is the only thing that we can really give you. Macoupin County still hasn't had any results accounted for at this moment. Madison County at this moment still has nothing trickling in, but it'll take a little bit of time as those results start getting counted. Back to the AP side of things for all of us, nothing's changed. Other than maybe a few numbers. Now, something to really just kind of make note of is sometimes I think when folks see an early report or early numbers coming in, they get excited one way or the other. And how important is it to really sit there, especially in a race like this, where 2%, 1%, half of a percent really does matter?
Well, we saw it in 2020, particularly with so many mail-in ballots that were used because of COVID. There was what has been deemed by the press as a red mirage. The Republicans tend to vote more on Election Day, and that's something we saw different in this election is the Republicans pushed early voting a little bit more, and more of them voted prior to today. And the question is, were they cannibalizing their vote that would have voted on Election Day, or were they turning out more people? And that still remains to be seen.
We'll find out. AP is now calling for another Trump projection, taking the former president, the 45th president, to 101 to Kamala Harris's 35. And, you know, I think it's interesting, too, to see how time really affects the electoral map, too. You know, we're early on, when Midwestern or more rural states are starting to close, those results come in normally quicker for Republicans. Then give it an hour's time, and you'll see those blue states start to fill up and the scores start to even out. Now, here's what AP has called. They have called 101 electoral votes for Donald Trump. The states are Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Currently, the Vice President of the United States now up to 49 electoral votes, as they have just made a projection for Kamala Harris. I'm trying to figure out which state that was. It was an East Coast state, so it was not New Hampshire. She is still leading in New Hampshire, according to the AP. Vermont is Kamala Harris's. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Maryland are so far the states won by the Vice President of the United States. Dan, so far, really nothing changing. Now, right now...
We're starting to get some early results in Senate races. The Republicans have already flipped a seat, West Virginia. That was the Joe Manchin seat. That was entirely expected.
Yeah.
In Ohio, early on, Sherrod Brown is holding a very slim lead, but there's not a lot. There's just not a lot to go on there. That is one that could very well flip. In Texas, early on, Colin Allred has a very slim lead, but that one I still think Ted Cruz holds on. Mm-hmm. But Allred, and I can see here where some of those votes are coming in, they're in strong places for him. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that. We're still waiting on Montana, obviously, Wisconsin. One that I'm really watching is Nebraska. The independent there, Osborne, has really made that an interesting race with incumbent Deb Fischer, the Republican. Do I know what's going to happen? The more likelihood is that she holds the seat, but it could. You never know. There could be a surprise tonight.
Well, and with that being said, too, before we continue our election coverage, there is some breaking news here locally. A significant water main leak has prompted the Godfrey Fire Protection District to close Godfrey Road to all traffic in both directions. This is a big alert. Godfrey Road has been closed to traffic in both directions from Jackson Lane to Taylor Avenue. That's a significant amount of space. On Tuesday evening, the closure is which affects a key thoroughfare, is been implemented due to safety safety concerns caused by this leak. The road currently deemed unsafe and impassable, leading authorities to advise motorists to seek alternate routes. The exact timeline for repairs and the reopening of the road has not been specified. Residents and commuters are urged to remain vigilant and plan their travel accordingly while the situation is being managed. Further updates are expected from the Godfrey Fire Protection District, but right now, breaking news on this fifth night of November at 7:34, Godfrey Road to all traffic in both directions from Jackson Lane to Taylor Avenue has been stopped due to a massive water main leak. We will keep you updated. As we're just awaiting the results. Now, you were talking about a few Senate races. The Texas one is getting more and more interesting as years start to get closer.
Well, and now there's been another dump of votes there, and Cruz has taken the lead. That race was a little closer than expected 6 years ago. I believe it was Beto O'Rourke gave Ted Cruz a good run. Texas has started to tighten a little bit, but I'd still suggest Senator Cruz probably holds that seat when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. And folks, as we're just awaiting more from this, you can see right now, just as the Associated Press starts to fill up their map a little bit, here's what things are starting to look like. You have Donald Trump at 101 to Kamala Harris's 52. This is being updated to the latest second. And then back here locally, we'll get there too. But just as a little bit of that electoral map when it comes to the 2024 election, this is what we're utilizing through our national partner in the Associated Press. Back to some of the local scenes, seeing if some voter turnout got dispersed. In Jersey County, nothing so far. In Calhoun County, nothing so far. We'll take you back to Madison County and see if any of the results are starting to trickle in. Still no precincts reporting. This is pretty normal, though, for us. It takes about, 45 minutes to an hour?
Usually I would expect to see something in Madison County an hour after polls have closed.
That's what I've come to notice as well. And races still remain almost identical to the same as when we left you in the St. Clair County portion of this. Mark Kern's still leading, and so is Kenneth Williams Sr., Calvin Dye Sr. as well. Getting back to Missouri, as we still have a couple of minutes before we start some conversations and all of that, Missouri's votes are starting to trickle in on the national side of things. Now, when it comes to sports betting, right now it's being held at 56% for no, 43% for yes, but there's not a significant number reporting to even make any type of projection. Now, when it comes to the governor's race, Mike Kehoe was an interesting candidate because he took quite a bit of flack, it seemed like, in that primary against Ashcroft.
He did, but that's a state that for a Democrat to win the governorship there would be, you would be talking about one hell of a surprise in the country right now, because that state has just gone further to the conservative side. I don't think you're going to see any surprise there. Even the Senate race might be a little tighter, but I don't think Kuntz has a snowball's chance in hell of beating Josh Hawley. But it could be a little tighter than we're accustomed to, just depending on where turnout is. And like I said, I think tomorrow it's going to be women, 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 and youth vote, youth vote, youth vote. Did it turn out? Did it break one way or the other?
And now, with that being said, in that Missouri Senate race with Josh Hawley and Lucas Kuntz with 1% reporting, Hawley has a narrow lead at 50.05, 25,000 plus to Kuntz's 24,000 plus. Going to take another quick check just to see how a couple of those ballot measures are doing and just how some of those House races are doing in Missouri. Nothing being reported on Mo 2 yet, and we'll keep you updated on that one as well. Right now, though, as you guys are seeing, the Associated Press is keeping the numbers right at 101 to 52, and we'll just kind of really just see. I mean, we're just waiting now. That's all it is. They're starting to get more and more results coming in now, too. So at every second, it seems like the conversation changes. The Associated Press just made a projection for Kamala Harris. We're going to see which state they just projected. She's now up to 71 electoral votes.
It's Illinois.
It's Illinois. The great state of Illinois has officially voted for Kamala Harris again. Not a surprise at all on that one too. With that being said, the popular vote stands at this: Trump with 18.7 plus million, and then Kamala Harris with about 15.8 million. Still plenty of room left to play. And now they've already counted what, Dan? About 80 million when I was this afternoon votes cast. It's going to break the record.
Yeah, they were talking 80 to 90 million had cast their vote prior to Election Day. We could see turnout that's going to blow up 2020, and there was at one time a thought that it was going to be less than 2020, but I'm guessing it's going to be on par or higher, based on anecdotal evidence today.
Well, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this weird race that we've had while we have the time. I mean, we've had the bingo card, it seems like, of what could happen in a presidential election year. I mean, we've had candidates drop out and new candidates. We've had assassination attempts. We've had, literally, we've had all this thrown into us within months.
Well, essentially, we've had a 108-day campaign because that's how long it's been since the vice president has been in the race. I mean, this is the first time since 1968 a sitting president has bowed out, and it was much later than happened in 1968.
It's really incredible just to kind of see how you look back, and especially with how busy it's been and just some of the conversations and interviews I've had with politicians and their thoughts. I mean, it seems like the middle of July was 5 years ago.
It does. I mean, I've always said a week is an eternity in politics, but this year, a day has been an eternity.
Here's where the map stands so far. We'll bring you back to it. This is what the Associated Press provided us, so kind of stay in tune. This is the latest from the AP. Almost every region of Florida shifted to the right this time around, and this came back to a conversation that you actually started and which was finished on national television. Was what states do the parties invest in and why? Do they look at the numbers down to the wire? Is it feeling? What goes into that decision?
Well, on a large scale, I can't speak from experience. I've never been high up in a presidential race, but you're looking at where you think you can gain votes, and the Democratic Party has invested less and less in Florida since 2008, and it shows. But they've invested in places like Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and that has made a difference. So it's just a matter of you sit down with your numbers and you have to make tough decisions. It's just like if you're running a campaign here in Madison County. Where do you invest your money to get the votes to get 50% plus one?
Now, as you know, and just to kind of add on to this conversation, getting back to here locally, in less than 6 months, we're doing this again, for the consolidated election.
Well,
is there a burnout for voters when it comes to having that election the following year?
Well, I think turnout's the key to look at there, and I would say yes.
Okay.
I'm still a large proponent of we should move the dang local elections back to either the midterms or the presidential years, because I think turnout in the city of Alton 4 years ago was something like 3,700 people chose the mayor and the city council. So you can see that there is some kind of burnout, and believe me, I got to think people are going to have a hangover from what we've lived through for the last 6 months.
Well, and I think that's always an interesting point of this too, is when you have those conversations and you see some of those answers from both sides of the proverbial aisle, it's give us a rest, and now we were talking earlier about just this campaign across the board, billions of dollars being spent, and now it kind of raises a question that I've talked to you about numerous times: is when's enough money enough money?
Well, it leads me to be glad that I'm semi-retired or mostly retired from the business, because now, when the election is over, which pundit tonight is going to be sitting on one of these cable networks and go, the 2028 race starts right now?
Right.
When is that going to happen? We don't, members of Congress, everybody, as soon as they spend more time raising money than they do doing anything. And ever since Citizen United, we have this unlimited money that's flying all over the place. At a bare minimum, we need to have transparency to know who's spending that money. I'd still argue we need some kind of limits in there. Let's go back to the McCain-Feingold years when we got some limits. before Citizens United, but this has quite frankly become obscene.
It has been. It really is, because there's always going to be that one person that goes, well, what could we have used that money with?
Well, and I say that as somebody that made a living in politics, and it is absolutely positively obscene. But the fact that we don't know where a lot of it is coming from, this dark money, and it's on both sides. Everybody's using the system that we have. We have to change that system, because right now we're going to have oligarchs in this country controlling our elections rather than the people.
I 100% agree with you on this. Is just a really good point, and it's not a partisan issue really at all. I mean, this is just a common sense one. Right now, the Senate race is about 43 for Republicans and 34 for Democrats. I don't know if there was a pickup yet besides West Virginia.
Not yet.
Yeah, I haven't
we
seen
still
that
have
either.
Early on in Ohio, Sherrod Brown, the incumbent, the Democrat, is leading, but there's a long way to go there. In Texas, Colin Allred is now falling behind Ted Cruz. In Virginia, which wasn't expected to be overly competitive, Tim Kaine, the incumbent Democrat, is leading. Michigan is an open seat. It's a democratically held seat. Early on, the Democrat is leading there. Pennsylvania, which is going to be a tight race, early returns there have the incumbent Democrat Bob Casey up, but that still remains to be seen. Maryland is one people watched early on because the former Republican governor Larry Hogan jumped in. It looks like, based on some of the numbers and reports that have come out, that he's not going to win that race, and it's going to be held in the Democratic column. Stranger things have happened, but my guess is that the Democrat there holds that seat. New Jersey looks like Democrats are holding that seat. Same with Delaware. Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, none of those were even remotely competitive, or Vermont with Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely. And with that being said, too, as we're just getting back here locally, how does our voter count process work? Do they count the ballots, kind of like Pennsylvania does? They wait till they close polls. How does it work for the state of Illinois?
Every state is a little bit different because we have an extremely decentralized election system in this country. I mean, Illinois alone has 108 different election authorities. That's 101 counties plus some municipalities. Some states, they can start processing those ballots early on this morning. Some states have to wait till the polls close. So it just depends on, it's a state by state. I've always said, if you wanted to steal an election in this country, you'd have to go to thousands upon thousands of election authorities to change things.
With that being said, the time is 9:46. If you're just tuning in, that breaking news alert for us back here locally in Alton, Godfrey Road is shut down both directions. That's a major news update. Do not go to Godfrey Road. Find alternative options as they repair that water main break. We're still awaiting the first amount of voter results, and those results to start coming in from Madison, Calhoun, Macoupin, and Jersey counties. The time's 9:46 on this election night Tuesday. As it stands right now, according to the Associated Press, you see it on your screen here with me. Oh, that's not what I wanted here. And that's Donald Trump at 101 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 71, as we're starting to get more results and turnout right here on this 5th day of November. More of this 2024 election night coverage right here on RiverBender.com and Roku TV. CJ Nasello, Dan Herket, more after this quick one. Ready for fantastic deals? Head to Village Dispensary, where every day is a celebration. Start your week with 25% off Dog Walker pre-rolls on Monday. Tuesday, enjoy 25% off Divs gummies. On Wednesday, enjoy 30% off Nevada pens. On Thursday, it's 30% off CQ sodas, margaritas, and more. Friday, enjoy 3.5 grams of Megatron by NGW and Cronuts number 4 by Paul Bunyan for $25. Visit VillageDispo.com and shop now.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today. and let us help you with your next project.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh, made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
Welcome back to our election night coverage at 7:50. There weren't very many races when it came to Jersey County, but we are seeing the first one of 22 precincts are reporting. On the statewide advisories to number one, right now the yeses have it, but still many more to go. At State Advisory number 2, about 51 to 49%. State Advisory 3, that is the Cook County one, I believe, just from going back on from memory. That's 63% yes to 37% no. Jersey County is overwhelmingly in the first precinct saying that Donald Trump should be their presidential candidate choice. Trump up 279 votes to Kamala Harris's 52. Not a lot of competitive races here. But we'll get to some more county board for Jersey County. You can vote for 2, and it looks like the 2 are going to be the ones that were on the ballot in all of these cases. So Jared Haynes, Kenneth Grizzle, Marty Ward, Benjamin Hetzig, they're going to be moving down. And now really just that's about it. And see, that's what kind of happens when it comes to, some of these races is just there's not, anybody running.
You don't see anybody running because, if you want, Jersey County's always been more of used to be more of a swing county. It has gone more Republican. Years ago, Calhoun and Greene were staunchly Democratic counties. They're Republican. Most of Southern Illinois used to be Democratic counties, but it is switched over the past 20 to 30 years. So you don't see a lot of competitive races anymore, and I still say that goes back to obviously the counties aren't gerrymandered, but you play to your base. And a Democrat in some of these southern and central Illinois counties can't be competitive because they get the noose of I shouldn't probably use that. They get hamstrung with the national party, where they may be more to the middle or more conservative, but when people walk in, they automatically see an R or a D and they think of the national side, because really our politics have become very nationalized. And something we're watching tonight that we don't see a lot of anymore is split ticket voting. Yeah. In some of these states, do people vote for, say, President Trump, or do they vote for Sherrod Brown, who's the Democrat in Ohio running for Senate? We've seen less and less of that split ticket voting in the last 3 or 4 election cycles. Well,
Madison County is so far the only county locally besides Calhoun that hasn't started reporting. We do have Macoupin County results starting to trickle in now. Macoupin County has had 9,000 ballots cast, making up for 30% of their turnout so far out of their registered voters. Right now, Josh Lloyd is winning in Macoupin County with 15% reporting. Nikki Budzinski at 46% to Joshua Lloyd's 54%. So we'll see how that comes into play. I don't think it will matter
That's
too much.
only a small part of
Yeah,
the
very
district.
small part. And obviously Donald Trump in the Republican portions of that county winning that race. As we're getting down to county circuit clerk, with about 15% of the vote, Amy Ashby is leading by about 2,000 votes to Dana Skinner's 3,792 votes, 58.3% to 41.64% for that county circuit clerk's race. For county board, John Payne is beating Gordon Hewer by less than, or actually by 102 votes, and that's one of the only competitive county board races. There are a few more, though. Ross Aiden is losing right now to Mark Drakovich by about 7%. And in county board, the 9th district, Todd Armour is beating Molly Rosenstrutter by about 9%. So some pretty, even though it's pretty early on with some of those turnouts and the results, just the numbers starting to become probably a concern for some of those county board members, I would say. If you have, 30% of your precincts reporting?
I don't know the precincts in Macoupin County to really comment, other than Macoupin's another one of those counties that used to be a strong Democratic county that has seen a shift over the years. I mean, that was the home of the great Vince DiMuzio. I think a lot of people watching probably remember that name.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And still, we're waiting for Madison County, folks, but we don't have any bit of data right now, as we're still awaiting for reporting to happen, as they're going through and getting updated by the second, it looks like. Back to St. Clair County, as we have a couple of minutes of time. And right now, really nothing changing too much in St. Clair. 41,000 ballots cast, again, 25% of its 167,000 registered voters. Now, is St. Clair smaller than Madison County by a couple, couple thousand?
I want to say St. Clair has a higher population.
That's what I thought. I've always been a little curious about that, and just seeing how that
I haven't
splits.
looked recently. It used to be, but I like I said, I have not looked lately.
With that being said, nothing really changing too much on any side of the coin. We're going to wait until the 8 o'clock hour to have our conversations, because as I'm talking, that means there's probably a likelihood at 8 o'clock that we'll see some shifting happening at some portion. What I think is interesting is just to see how some of these are starting to change up on the Associated Press map. Georgia is now, I don't know what is getting counted in Fulton County.
That's what I was looking at. Georgia, there's finally some votes coming in DeKalb County and Gwinnett County around the Atlanta metro area. That's where the vice president has to run up numbers. So we're starting to see, and that has shifted back and forth as numbers come in that state. Yeah. And I would suggest it's going to be a little while. We may know a little more about Georgia tonight than we did 4 years ago, but it's still pretty early based looking at the counties there. Same way with North Carolina, and I don't have real turnout numbers in North Carolina to compare to from 4 years ago, so it's hard to tell. There's some early returns in Pennsylvania that has the vice president up, but it's mostly coming from her strong counties, so we'll see as we go if the rural counties in between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia turn out for former President Trump.
And that's all we can do. And especially at this point, it's just a waiting game. Let's just see what happens. Let's see some of these numbers get brought in. Now, let's bring up Georgia here from our Associated Press. I'll put this picture in picture for us just so you guys can, or maybe go on the scene so you can follow along. This is what the Associated Press has for us on their breakdown. Right now, you can see that just looking at that map, that star is Atlanta, and that makes it, that's the big portion of
that area around Atlanta. Not only Fulton County, but the suburban counties around Atlanta are where the vice president has to have the votes in order to hold Georgia. And we saw how close Georgia was 4 years ago. So we could be waiting as votes come in, mail-in ballots come in. We'll see how long it takes for them to count. Right now, I would say it's a coin flip.
Absolutely, and we'll just see, how that compares to last year. Now, does the question ever become, Dan, do third-party candidates affect these type of races? Because especially if it breaks up by 5,000 or 6,000 votes.
I think you should ask Al Gore about Florida in 2000 if you want, or Hillary Clinton in 2016 if you want to talk about.
Or Donald Trump with Jurgensen in Michigan. They give her a little bit of credit for that.
Well, at the end of the day, third parties have made a difference. I don't think Michigan, they could this time. I don't see them playing as big a role as they did in 2016, or I always go back to Florida and that butterfly ballot in 2000 with Ralph Nader on the ballot. But at the end of the day, something that I would bring up and point people to watch is we're seeing something in this election that we've not really seen before, and it's that the Republican Party and the Trump campaign outsourced their get out the vote operation to Elon Musk's super PAC, rather than doing it themselves, where the Harris campaign and the Democrats built their own turnout operation. So it'll be interesting to see how those two play out, because a lot of reporting was that the Republican model was not doing as well early on. Now, whether they clean that up, I don't know. Time will tell this evening. But that's going to be interesting to see if outsourcing your get out the vote operation can prove successful.
Well, and that's really going to be an interesting thing. And just pulling up a couple of different states to look at as they start to teeter back and forth on the AP lean section of it is just looking at Virginia. You get a little, you always kind of hear things in the news, but, we're looking right now, even though they have this leaning Republican, you're looking at Richmond not being counted yet. You're looking at all these really heavily Democratic areas or strongholds normally that, really are going to add to that calculation here in an hour.
Virginia went from being a true purple state to being more of a lean blue state.
Yeah.
Now, can the Trump campaign reverse that trend just the same way can the Harris campaign reverse North Carolina? Because the last time North Carolina went for a Democrat was 2008, very narrowly for former President Obama.
And, as we're just waiting to see what time will tell us here, as we're still waiting for Madison County's first precincts to be reported, we're still waiting on some updates from Madison County's voter website. But we do start to get a little bit more of a picture when we look at St. Clair and we look at Jersey County. And again, guys, this isn't 2022 where we had it seemed like nine really competitive races to take a look at. This is just a laid-back kind of election for us here this time around.
Just a wild guess on the St. Clair County numbers is that very well might have been the early vote that they dumped out right off the bat, just because of the way that they're reporting it here. I can't be 100% sure on that, but that's an educated guess for St. Clair County.
Well, and honestly, when you're looking at, especially if that's early voting, you're feeling pretty confident if you're some of these folks that are in positions of winning right now. So that's good to see and also enlightening. Going back to Missouri, just to see how the sports bet question is becoming more and more interesting. But
there's only 1%
still in Missouri.
Yeah, that's what they're showing on KMOV's website.
We'll keep up to date with it now. Right now,
we do have some initial results in the race you're watching, House District 2. Less than 1% reported. Hartman has jumped out to a very, very slim lead, but that could be early vote coming in. I'm not exactly sure if Missouri dumps their early vote first, like a lot of places. So who knows? But it's less than 1%.
And the thing, especially if it's early voting, you would like to see that number probably at about 10% of a lead there, I would think.
You would if you're a Democrat, but like I said, Republicans did a much better job this election of turning people out in early voting where they traditionally have voted on Election Day. And the question is, are they bringing more people into their fold, or are they just cannibalizing and shifting where people voted? So we don't know that just yet.
We do have some more projections to make from the Associated Press. Louisiana has been given to Donald Trump. South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming have gone to former President Trump. Right now, it's 120 to Kamala Harris's, 99 electoral votes. She's won the states of Delaware, Maryland, Illinois, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and Vermont. So that New York call coming in, and it looks like, the whole idea that, there's 20,000 people, coming to the speeches, and there were quite a bit. It didn't seem to be much in New York.
Well, and the New York Times it also has Nebraska going for former President Trump, but that is a state that has where they award the congressional districts. So we'll be waiting to see I think it's the 2nd congressional district, to see how that goes. That was looking pretty positive for the vice president, but we'll have to wait and see.
Now, so far, this is very interesting in New Mexico. Are you seeing this breaking out a little bit? I don't know what the Associated Press or how they're reporting this, but right now there's an interesting 41% of the vote has been counted in New Mexico.
I don't have that on the New York Times.
That's what the AP is saying anyway, and they have it right now going to Donald Trump in his favor. He's not projected to win, but it's a pretty substantial amount of vote.
It just depends.
There's not a lot of turnout in New Mexico, correct?
I would be shocked if that state flipped. I would say that's just some early vote got dumped in of some kind from somewhere. I don't think anyone really had New Mexico as overly competitive.
Well, and just like, in Iowa, that kind of shock poll came out on Saturday that might be more telling for other states' races and how they break down.
The one thing I'll say about Ann Selzer in the Des Moines Register poll is that you can almost take it to the bank. It's been one of the most well-respected polls. And do I think that Harris is going to win Iowa? No, I don't. But I think maybe Selzer and her poll did pick up on something. That remains to be seen. But she may have picked up on something with women voting. But whether that's going to switch, it shocked the system of the pundits. It gave everybody pause. But Iowa has shifted so far to the Republican column that it would be hard to bring back. And really, we've seen no investment by the Democratic Party in Iowa for a very long time.
And, it's just going to be interesting to see if that's something that they start to maybe consider if they get some, numbers or maybe some statistics that they like. Is that, do you always look, right away after the election as a party to go, where do we target next? Or is that dependent on candidate and race?
Well, one would suspect that the party itself, yes, does that. But each campaign of a candidate is going to look at things their own way as well. Most of the time, they're pretty coordinated, but if the national party or the state party in Iowa wanted to invest there, they could. My gut feeling is they probably won't, because there's other places where Democrats could pick up, where Republicans, same way, Republicans may be investing in places where they think they can pick up votes.
We're still waiting on results from Madison County to trickle in here on their website. We are just hanging tight. There's not much excitement in the St. Louis metro or the Illinois portion of the Metro East this evening, but we are giving you the ones that are coming in. We're still getting more results from Macoupin County, who is now about 10,000 votes cast, 30% of the way there, and just pretty much holding to what we already were talking about. No leads have changed. No candidate's position has changed. The only thing that's changed is the folks that were in a lead have gained a little bit of a higher lead in terms of where they're running. Those county board races, the one that is a little bit interesting is that Mark Dragovich is still leading, but his race is getting a little bit tighter there. But other than that, that's pretty much all going to be the results when they're said and done. 10 to 22 precincts are reporting in Jersey County, and here's what we can tell you. With the statewide advisory, the first advisory, 88% are saying yes to that measure. The second advisory statewide, 53 to 47% against. So no's right now currently have it. That looks pretty close. That statewide advisory number 3 to separate from Cook County was the third statewide advisory measure. 62% say yes, and 38% say no.
Now, circling back to the 13th congressional race, the Sun-Times using the AP, this is total for the 13th district. I don't know where these votes are with 10% in. Budzinski is up 60-40.
That's what I was kind of projecting too. Would be, or my thoughts were that she'd have a pretty easy night when it came to her race. We'll see how that breaks down, though. We're still awaiting some of our local races to start getting some of their numbers to get brought in here, as we're waiting for Madison County's results, and we're waiting for Jersey County. So, I don't remember last time around, this kind of taking as long to get some of these results.
Well, we're only an hour in, so I wouldn't be overly concerned at this point.
Absolutely. It seems like for the folks that maybe thought there was a chance in Texas, I could tell you that's probably not going to happen on the national side. Now, for the Senate side of things, are you seeing anything in this Ted Cruz race that could be anything of note?
I mean, it's a 4-point race right now, but like I said, I expect Cruz to narrowly win it, but it looks like, let's see here. Allred might be actually outperforming Harris by a little bit in Texas.
Wow, that's interesting. With that being said, just wanted to bring up this Kansas conversation again because I find it fascinating. It's still 36% of the vote. This wasn't on anybody's radar, it seemed like, to
Not until the
flip.
last couple of weeks, no.
Kamala Harris is leading Donald Trump in Kansas right now by...
Those votes are coming in from like around Omaha. And in the Senate race, Osborne is leading the incumbent.
Is he? Okay. Well, and that's just something to see is where are these votes being registered right now? The Kansas City area, Johnson County is the main slice of the pie right now, where Kamala Harris has gotten 136,000 of those votes already. So big chunks come from Johnson County. I don't know where that compares to in 2020 on the dot, but we'll kind of just keep tuned to that. In Shawnee County, this is interesting. Kamala Harris is leading, but only by a few points, 52 to 46, 60% of the vote. More time will tell. But that's just a look. The Associated Press has made another projection, and we will bring that to you now. The Associated Press has called... We're waiting for their map to update. Has called one state. He's up to 137 electoral votes. I'm trying to see which state they're calling
You
here.
got North Dakota.
Yeah, we already had that one in the called for it. I'm trying to see if they're trying to say that maybe Texas, that they're giving it to them now. Trump's up 9%, so maybe that's it. But here's the states so far: Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Louisiana, Arkansas, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Tennessee so far for the former president. Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, with 99 electoral votes.
They have called Ohio.
They have, okay, that was the projection. Ohio has gone to former President Trump, home of his running mate, J.D. Vance, the senator from Ohio. Now, was the seat, now if he is, let's just say the results play out in a way that Donald Trump is reelected to the presidency. When does J.D. Vance's election take place for his Senate seat?
I would guess
if it happens, just the same with Tim Walz.
I would. Well, Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota.
So his lieutenant governor takes.
Yeah, in Ohio, likely if it's like a lot of states, the governor would appoint a replacement, and then in the next general election, they would have a special election to fill out the term.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that's great to know, too. And now as we're looking at this, again, folks, I'm just kind of staying up to date on some of the social media feeds here. And for the folks that are a little bit wondering about Minnesota, don't, because these are just some of the rural portions of Minnesota that are being counted, that they're starting to maybe see some wiggle room for Trump. But right now, there's literally 0% of the vote in and only 1,200 votes. So there hasn't been anything counted. I don't know why social media erupted. Maybe it's just they saw it turn red a little bit and got anxious. But right now, as it sits, for the House side of things, Republicans 76 seats to the Democrats 54 seats. They just picked up a seat. I don't know which one. In the Senate, 46 seats belong to the Republicans right now. 35 belong to the Democrats. For president, 137 electoral votes belong to former President Donald Trump, and currently 99 electoral votes belong to the current Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. So we'll keep you updated as we're awaiting more results to start trickling out and our conversations to take place on this Election Tuesday right here on RiverBender.com and Roku TV, as we're still awaiting some results from Madison County. We'll go back to see if Calhoun has any of theirs divvied up yet. Right now, it doesn't look like it. We'll take a look back at St. Clair County to see if they've gotten anything else besides their earlier mail-in vote. The answer so far is no, but in Jersey County, they're starting to roll a little bit, and they're getting their numbers reported. 10 precincts out of 22 still in Macoupin County. Where are we at here? We're getting there. 35% of the vote has been cast. They're having a good job at returning numbers here. 15 out of 45 precincts reporting. And right now, nothing really is changing at all. Amy Ashby has gained a pretty substantial lead over Dana Skinner. She's winning right now with about 21% of the vote, 61 to 38. When it comes down to county board for that second district, you get to vote for two. Both candidates don't have anything to worry about. In the 4th district, you can vote for two. Both candidates are doing fine, and it seems like there's just not a lot of competitive races. When it comes to the referendums in Staunton, this was one that people were kind of keeping an eye on. This was the Staunton Community Unit School District number 6 proposition to issue $26.1 million in school building bonds. Currently, they don't have a lot of reporting on this yet. Early numbers are telling us that 59% so far have said yes to this, 40% have said no. When it comes to election worker protection and candidate accountability referendum, right now, with 33% of the vote being counted for, yes is the decisive winner in that by 88% to their the no's is 11.72. For the property tax relief referendum, Macoupin County, currently, right now, with 33% in, have said yes so far, 57% to the no's, 42%. And the assisted reproductive health referendum, that was going to be one that was going to get some coverage, too, is 64% saying yes, 35.6% saying no on that referendum.
I can give you statewide numbers on those.
Yeah, please do.
The civil penalties for election worker interference statewide right now in Illinois has got 89%. Create the new tax brackets to put that surcharge on millionaires is got 63%. And the expand reproductive health coverage is at 76%. And obviously, these are all advisory questions. None of them are actual constitutional amendments or have any force of law, just like the local ones we see in the various counties in the region.
The state of Texas has just been officially declared for the former president, Donald Trump. The Republicans have won on the presidential side, the state of Texas. That brings the current electoral map up to 177 to Kamala Harris's 99, as we're going to get more results coming in here on this Tuesday night. You can see that map starting to fill up. This is what we're seeing from our side of things on the Associated Press line, and just seeing more of these results starting to trickle in. You can see those tallies on your screen as well. 177 red, 99 blue, 46 for the Senate so far. 35 for the Democrats in the House, 79 to 55. The governor's races are going to be interesting. Do those ever really play out the same as a Senate race or a congressional race?
Some do. Like I said,
they really?
We don't see as much split ticket voting as we used to. They tend to go the same way. Honestly, I have not paid that close of attention to governor's races. I do know that in North Carolina, the Democrat has been declared the winner.
So this was getting some conversation, too, at 8:15 as I have you here, Dan. Nate Silver had run his simulations, which, whether or not you agree with them or not, people do put some amount of weight into them just on social media. And there was some scenarios that were lining up to a potential electoral college tie. And obviously way far off. Obviously, looking at tonight, it doesn't look like we'll be there. But if something like that ever happens, how does this actually work? Do the House of Representatives, do those individuals vote personally,
no,
or how does it break down?
The states vote by delegation rather than individual House members. So if it were a tie and the House had to choose the president, it would be each state would have one vote based on their delegation. They would come together, vote as a delegation. The likelihood of that happening is pretty slim, and God help us if it does.
That would be a little interesting.
Well, there's another scenario that, say, the Republicans hold the House at a very narrow margin, and they have trouble picking a speaker again, and we need to have the certification of the vote, and they haven't picked a speaker yet. There's a constitutional crisis for you.
Absolutely. And now as we're starting to get a little bit more of a picture on North Carolina, just on the presidential side of things, a lot of the vote being counted out of the capital, Raleigh. 74% of the vote has come in. Kamala Harris right now beating Donald Trump in Wake County, where Raleigh is in that suburb, pretty decisively, 63.9% to Donald Trump's 34.8%. Other areas of note are that Mecklenburg County area, where she is leading by about 40%, 23,000 to 10,000. Not a lot of votes counted there so far. In Forsyth County, beating Donald Trump again, but also the state has gone back to Donald Trump's favor. Now it's just going to be, how do these numbers line up for 2020? Is she doing better than Joe Biden? Is he outperforming her in these certain counties? Because this is really going to be a county race, it seems like.
In all of the states. You're going to see it in Pennsylvania and some of these counties that are coming in early, and I'm sure they're sitting in their war room comparing numbers, comparing turnout numbers. It's amazing how down to the street level you can take these things today, and how fast you can look at these numbers compared to the old days when you were running paper back and forth to each other.
Absolutely. We are still awaiting some of the Madison County results. We're going to stay up to date on those. In Calhoun County, they haven't started reporting yet, I do not believe. Anything in Calhoun County you're looking
I'm
at?
not seeing, I can't even get their website. They use a third-party website, and I can't even get into it.
There you go. And in Jersey County, things are staying right around the same. In St. Clair County, we're going to see if any more votes have been cast. And so far, nothing. But I think what's interesting, too, are the betting odds that come down to. Those are fun to look at. Now, they're also nerve-wracking if you're really an election night watcher. Does the betting market really have any type of equation or correlation to results?
I pay absolutely no attention to the betting market because, number one, we can't in this country do it. Those are predominantly foreign bets. Right. I mean, we saw they called him the whale in France that put a bunch of money on former President Trump that shifted the odds in the market. So honestly, I don't even know how most of that works. But I as somebody that's worked in politics, I would never bet on politics.
How important is it your candidate's mood and atmosphere the day of an election?
Well, you would hope they're well rested and they're in a very positive mood. You try to keep your candidates as positive as possible. And sometimes that can be hard to do, especially when you're running in a tough district or a tough state. But the idea is to hydrate, to get enough rest, which is hard to do late in the campaign, and just don't get too far off of center. Don't get too high or too low, because it does take a toll on your nerves as the evening goes on.
Absolutely. We're waiting for election results to come flashing down on the screen so we can give you a little bit more of an update on who is looking where, but nothing has been reported so far out of Madison County. It's only been an hour and 20 minutes, and we do have a pretty large county too, so we're not getting any numbers on early votes yet. We aren't getting any type of feedback, so I don't want to call the candidates before we have any of that conversation going, so we'll just kind of stay tuned for that. Now,
I'm guessing the candidates have people at the county clerk's office pulling the paper as they come out of the counts come out of the machines. They probably have a pretty good idea of what's happening right now.
And it's going to be interesting too, because we are going to start. I'm going to start sending off some text here in a couple of minutes to some folks just to see how they're feeling. The New York Times presidential poll tracker is another thing people stay up at night with. And right now, it's just really doing, Dan, what people have been doing the last 3 weeks. It's going back and forth. And, as somebody that is in the campaign, especially when you're at that high level, or even just in the high level of administration authority, managing the campaign, being that person, how important is it to be on the same type of metrics? Should you all be looking at very similar things so you all are up to date on what you're looking at, or should people be pulling from different sources and coming together?
Well, they're all pulling direct results. They'll sit in election authorities and get the numbers directly from the county clerks, the cities, what have you, and they'll plug those numbers into their spreadsheets and they'll run them through their own simulations. Is turnout where they projected? If it is, are they winning at a percentage that they think they need to win a district or a state? It's just every campaign is different. And the one thing I would say about the Harris campaign is they seem to have a very good operation in terms of that. Now, whether their get out the vote operation proves successful tonight remains to be seen.
And that's going to be one of those things where we kind of just sit back and kind of just watch, and right now we are getting more of a look at St. Clair County as they're starting to report now. They have just gained a couple of more percentages of votes, and it looks like with 28%, Mark Kern is still in a very commanding lead, 60% to Ryan Musik's 39%, with 28% of the vote so far. Now for County Coroner, Calvin Dye Sr. is up by about about 58 to 41, 8,000 votes is what it's looking like to Dean Darnall. Kenneth Williams Sr. is up 56 to 43% to Sidney McDonald. Again, folks, just 28% of the vote. 47,000 ballots have been registered so far of the 167,000 in St. Clair County. For County Recorder, so far, Michael Crockett Jr. is up 57 to Jason Madlock's 42%. And getting back to the County Board of Review, which I think is a little interesting just to look, because I think those county board member races, Dan, really could shape a lot when it comes to local conversations, and sometimes they're overlooked.
Well, is it County Board or Board of Review? Those are two different things.
This one's County Board of Review, but it's tying me into county board members, which I'm going to talk about here with Madison County. Now, Board of Review, though, is Amanda Warma. She's going to win with no problem, and it looks like Irma G. Galladay is doing very well, too, with about 29% of the vote in. Madison County, we're still waiting to trickle in. CJ Nasello and Dan Herket, we aren't going to be having our conversations earlier on. We're going to be talking to Chris Slusser, Tom Hain, Amy Ellick. We will be talking to a few more folks as well, and Ray Hartman. We'll take a look back at the Associated Press to see how they are viewing the presidential election so far, to see if anything's changing. And nothing in terms of the presidential race when it comes to electoral votes. Is there anything you're looking at Senate-wise, Dan, that has changed?
Not currently. We have a very extremely tight race in Ohio with almost 60% of the vote in, and that's the only one I'm really paying a whole lot of attention to right now, because there's enough of the vote in. You're starting to see a trend, and it's less than 100,000 votes. So we're going to wait and see if Sherrod Brown can hold that seat or if that becomes a Republican pickup.
And now the Pennsylvania Senate race, is that going to be a good indicator, do you think, of the general?
I would think that one, the presidential race and the Senate race, will be very, very closely aligned.
Very interesting. Kamala Harris has just pulled ahead of Donald Trump in New Mexico, so those votes are starting to equal back out. And just peeking my head through some things and, just kind of seeing it for itself. Right now, how important are those split districts like Nebraska? That one vote.
That one vote in Maine and that one vote in Nebraska could be the number that gets you to 270.
That's what I'm really curious about. And what is the reason for that? I feel like we see it all the time in maps, but we never really explore it. What's that one? One vote?
Those states have chosen to allot their electoral votes rather than winner take all. They allot them by congressional district. There's one for statewide, and then there's one for each congressional district. There's only two states that do that, and it's Nebraska and Maine, and it's looking like right now that blue dot, they call it in Nebraska, Harris is leading there, so we'll see if she holds that lead as the votes come in.
Wesley Bell was doing fairly well, I would say, in his Missouri House District race. That was a shoe-in, it seemed like.
That's a pretty safe district once you win the primary.
Absolutely. And then we're seeing Missouri House District number 2. Ray Hartman is still holding on. No, not a lot of votes, only 55,000 so far in that race, but still leading Ann Wagner by about 5% by 2,000 votes. So we'll see how that one holds up. And that's just kind of what I'm looking at. But I think for our area, just looking at this house or this sports betting, because, let's be honest, Dan, for me anyway, when I go to Argosy, 9 times out of 10, that sports book is full of Missourians.
Well, it is. And we, because it's legal in Illinois, we can use the apps.
Yeah.
If you have the app and you're in Missouri, you have to drive to Illinois and sit in Illinois in order to place a bet.
Absolutely. And as we're still awaiting, here's some of the current state of the race. You can tell it's an early vote count so far because Crystal Quaid is leading Mike Kehoe. That race wasn't even close to being contested. And then Elad Gross is now is still leading Andrew Bailey. But when it comes to this amendment and proposal, 2% of the vote in. Amendment 3 for Missouri was the right to an abortion. 62% are saying yes so far. 317,000 votes have been reported. For the sports betting amendment, this is interesting. The no's still have it early on in this vote, and that is going to be very interesting to see play out.
It's very early. What I'm seeing right now.
It's 40 precincts, but it's just going to be interesting to see how many people would be against that. Is it a values thing? Is it a numbers thing? Do you have any thoughts?
I just, watching the advertising on it, I just sensed that here in the last week or two that it was moving away from, and they sort of changed their message in the middle, and that is always a danger when you start changing your message in the middle of a campaign.
And to the Missouri Amendment 5 for that Osage River Casino, 53%, only 1% reporting. Don't get excited, folks, or saying no, but just one of those things where you think those would be kind of shoe-ins or yeses just right off the bat on all ballots. For me anyway, because it seems like it hasn't been talked about as much, and it's more of just a true personal decision and not a swayed one.
Well, and that one's another one that's to build a casino at Lake of the Ozarks. But just breaking down and looking at the county results in Missouri. There's 20% in. There's very few votes coming in. So I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock yet in any of those results until we get a few more results in.
Here's how Illinois is voting on the civil penalties for the election. 89% with 26% reporting saying yes, so that one's going to, it look like, go through. For the new tax bracket for question 2, with 26% reporting, 63 to 36%, Illinois is saying yes so far. On question 3, reproductive health, that is going to be a yes right now. It's probably a yes as it's going to hold.
Well, and we should remind folks that these are advisory questions, so they have no real force of law. They're just exactly what they say, advisory opinions. Whether they ever get taken up and put into policy is another question, predominantly for the legislature.
We're still awaiting Calhoun County's results. Macoupin counties are still starting to trickle in. So are St. Clair counties. Madison counties haven't been on reported yet. We're staying up to date on them. 14 precincts out of 22 are reporting for Jersey County. And really, again, no contested races in this, as you can vote for 2 candidates, and really just nothing to talk about when it comes to this. Now, when it comes to that separation from Cook County question, Jersey County has said yes to this, 78% to 22. That will to go through. And Dan, you were alluding to that, and I wanted to pick back up on it. You know, what do those questions mean? What do they do? Because we see those, and then, you know, I think some of us think, oh, that's the new law on January 1.
Well, that to separate or create a new state or join another state is a long, convoluted process that requires work from both state legislatures and the Congress. In my view, it's a protest, and I understand it. But at the end of the day, I think if you want to change things, you just got to go out and convince more people to vote for your side.
Absolutely.
One thing I've just found in doing some skimming here, it does look like the abortion rights ballot initiative in Florida fell short.
Wow. That is very interesting.
Well, there's been some controversy there with the governor of Florida using state tax dollars to fight that initiative. Yeah. And I'm not making a judgment on any of that, but that's been reported, and it's been interesting to watch. But it does appear that they're reporting that is going to fail in Florida.
That brings up a very interesting conversation when it comes to those questions. When a lot of times when we talked about this with Kansas early on in the midterms, I mean, that was a complete revolt of and what many said was a revolt of the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Well, and I think Kansas, as I looked back on it, was the way it was framed. And it was framed not only about abortion, but in the larger sense of rights in general. And if they come for this right, are they going to come from another? That, to me, is how the proponents framed that, and it proved to be successful. I wrote down here something that I keep going back to. June 24th, 2022 is when the Dobbs decision came down overturning Roe, and that proved to be a huge determinant in the midterm elections when there was talk of a red wave that really didn't materialize. And we'll see if that still does play out here. Obviously, it didn't in Florida. We'll see in Missouri and these other states that have those on the ballot this time.
Now, when it comes to that, when you have these candidates running, I'm sure that some think a little bit differently than maybe their party might align with platform-wise. Is it one of those things where you advise to err on what they believe in, or do you err on what would be beneficial? I mean, I hate to say it, to your party and to the election, because we know those conversations happen.
It comes down to, as a candidate, do you make that calculation? A lot of them do. We have seen since that decision come down, a lot of Republicans have moderated how they talk about abortion because it did prove to be a problem in 2022. We'll see if it's still a driving force in this election, which a lot of people thought it was. The Harris campaign made it a big issue. We'll see if that does drive any of how this election turns out.
We're going to see, and folks, if you're just tuning in going, why are CJ and Dan still talking about the same things? It's because the competitive races, we don't have any true data on here locally. Now, statewide, Nikki Budzinski is doing quite well and pretty much has been projected has she been projected yet?
Not yet. There's only 14% in district-wide. She's at 56%, but we don't have Madison County numbers in there, I'm suspecting, because I'm seeing nothing on Madison County's website right now.
Right, and just awaiting more results here. We're checking back with St. Clair County. They're still reporting 28%. Macoupin County is the one that really is turning over some numbers here. 45% of their voter turnout has been accounted for, and we're kind of just at where we were before. Amy Ashby for the county circuit clerk's race, which really is the big race, I would think, for Macoupin, is looking like she will be the winner. There's still a ton of votes out there. 55% have been reported on, but right now, as it sits, Amy Ashby's is leading. Wesley Bell has just been projected to win a Missouri's House seat in the 1st District. That was, after just looking at those numbers, that was a pretty obvious go for. When it comes back to county corner,
we do have some 29. There is a portion of the Katie Stewart Jay Keevan district that is in St. Clair County, and with 29% of those votes in, Stewart is leading 58-41 in that portion of the district in St. Clair County.
Is that what you want if you're Katie Stewart?
Yes, that should be considered votes that she needed to bank.
So if you were Keevan trying to get a little bit more of a better result, then you'd think you'd want some of those voters and more of a drove. Do we know how that broke out last time?
I would have to do a little quick research back of the napkin math here to figure that out, but that's just some initial results we have, and it's only saying 29%. And that's just a portion of that district. The majority of that district is in Madison County.
Many are calling the Senate race in Texas over. We haven't gotten confirmed yet, I don't believe, from the Associated Press, but they have just called it for Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has beaten Colin Allred on the Associated Press in that re-election bid, and that was one that was getting pretty close.
It was close, but if I was having to sit down and do a projection, I would have projected Cruz to hold that seat.
Absolutely. Just some of the numbers we're seeing so far in Minnesota, no votes being counted, and Wisconsin's only 17% of the vote in. Nothing really yet to take a look at. When it comes to Pennsylvania, 27% of the vote in, and it looks like early votes are being accounted for. What are we seeing here, Dan, in Pennsylvania?
Which state are you?
Pennsylvania, 27% of the vote. Kamala Harris now has a 9-point lead, but you've said before,
it comes down to where the votes are coming in at. Some of them are coming in Philadelphia County, only 21%, which is a strong suit for the Democrats. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of the rural counties in Pennsylvania not reporting much at all yet. So we're just going to have to wait and see, because I remember somewhere in my years of studying politics, James Carville, the famous Democratic consultant, likened Pennsylvania to, you have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and in between Alabama.
And it's going to be one of those things, Dan, where I'm interested to see how this Virginia vote breaks down. Is it starting to tighten up a little bit? It still has more than enough ways to go for Harris, I feel, to still be comfortable in this and to feel more than confident. But right now, Trump does have a very slight advantage, but haven't seen yet on our Virginia map on where those votes are coming in from. It looks like Fairfax County, she's doing quite well. 60% of the vote was accounted for in Virginia and Fairfax. Kamala Harris up by about 30%, 34% to be exact. In Norfolk, 57% of the vote counted. And in the Richmond area, only 13% of the vote. So I'm sure in that area is where they're looking at, and Richmond County, to maybe pull some of that vote
Well,
back.
there's a long way to go in Virginia. Just what I'm skimming through here now. I still expect Virginia to end up in the Harris column.
I do too. No, I do as well.
But stranger things have happened. Like I said, the last few elections have been very odd.
And honestly, does that ever make it more difficult for people that have, studied this forever to truly stay up to date with it because of just how odd some of these races have been? Or because when we say odd, we think it's odd until you look back in history and realize, well, maybe it really isn't that far off.
Well, we've been seeing shifts in this country. If you go back and look at the Electoral College in 92 and 96 with former President Clinton, it looks entirely different than it has in 2000, say 2004, 8 going forward.
Yeah.
We're seeing shifts in these states. It happens in this country. A fun thing to do is go all the way back and look at the Electoral College from the very first election all the way forward to see how it's shifted.
Absolutely. And right now, folks, again, more votes just being waited for at this point in time. 28% are still reporting out in St. Clair County. Mark Kern's leading that county board race convincingly. Getting back to Madison County, if you folks are kind of just wondering, we haven't seen any results yet. From what I'm getting on my side of things from Madison County, that could change at any moment because all it takes is just for some votes to start trickling through. We aren't going to have our conversations until we get the votes coming in. I just wouldn't feel right about asking before we start to.
It's distinctly possible that a lot of these candidates that are in contested races know something that we don't.
Well, and I know that that there are a few individuals up in Edwardsville right now for a campaign party. I'm going to reach out to them here during our break and see how things are looking, just because I like to add some drama into everything I do. Right now, the ticker has it leaning Trump, but it's really right down the middle. And then the bet numbers, which, Dan, I agree with you. Now that I think about this, how can people bet on this race in this country? It doesn't make sense to me.
It's not legal to do in this country.
It's not how this works. The betting numbers are so interesting because just today, Harris was leading the betting numbers, and now this morning she was, and now it's just going all over the place. It's Trump at 75, Harris at 22, but they're literally changing by 5 points every 30 seconds. So right now, what the world's telling us, Dan, is we don't know.
We don't know anything.
But what we do know is we'll be back after a quick break on this Tuesday night after this.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
You won't find a better health club than Nautilus Fitness Center. More cardio, more free weights and equipment, more classes, a swimming pool, and more. If you're serious about your health and want to make a change, then stop thinking about it and visit Nautilus Fitness Center on Industrial Drive in Alton. Don't fall for the hype you get from the other health clubs. Nautilus is the Riverbend's premier health club. Has been for years and will be for years to come. Get to Nautilus Fitness Center and get started on a healthier new you.
Welcome back. Election night coverage is we're still waiting for results. 841, RiverBender.com, Roku TV. St. Clair County holding strong at 28% of the ballots being reported. We're waiting. Tom Hain will call us at 9 o'clock. Amy Ellick will call us in, too. We're just waiting for more of these results to come trickling in. Let's just take you back to where the big guns are, and that's with our Associated Press feed. We'll take you right back to the election. And as you can see on the homepage here, 178 votes currently, electoral votes for former President Donald Trump. Kamala Harris, 99 electoral votes for the Vice President of the United States. As you start to see more and more of that map start to fill up, and it's almost, Dan, one of those feelings where it's just kind of hard to believe we're finally here.
Thank God it's about to be over.
We're just coming back to you here as we're again waiting for the Madison County and Calhoun County voter turnouts. Just interesting to see how these are going. 0 out of 56 reported in precincts in Calhoun. And Madison, nothing.
There are 5 precincts in Calhoun.
Oh, 5 precincts in Calhoun. Sorry. Oh. Huh. Must be something wrong.
Are you looking at a different Calhoun in a different state?
We'll find out here in a second, won't we, Dan Herket? Hey, but I can tell you this, in Macoupin County, their number totals have gotten a little bit bigger. They're now at 60% of their voter turnout, so they got 20,000 ballots cast almost with 31,000 registered voters. Nikki Budzinski getting beaten in this district, or this precinct here, by Joshua Lloyd, with 80% of the precincts reporting, 61 for Mr. Lloyd to the current Congresswoman Budzinski's 38%. When it comes to that county circuit clerk's race, I think we can go ahead and almost make this projection just by looking at numbers. Amy Ashby has 65% of the vote with 80% of the precincts reporting, 12,000 votes to the 6,000 by Dana Skinner. So barring anything monsoonish, it looks like Amy Ashby will win the county clerk's race in Macoupin County. In Jersey County, nothing really to report on other than just seeing how those ballot measures went. And they're pretty much holding the same. I mean, and that separation from Cook County question still at 78%. And when it comes to some of the other questions on the ballot, the statewide advisories, number 3, winning right now is a yes, 61% to the no's, 39%. Number 2's advisory on the statewide side of things for Illinois. That statewide advisory, let me just pull that back up here just so we have it in front of us. That statewide advisory for number 2 is that new tax bracket. And right now, Jersey County has said no to it. 54% to 46%. That's an interesting thought. And then let's just take a look at that first advisory question, which is the civil penalties for elections, and overwhelmingly yes with 87%. We just got an update from one of the candidates. Amy Ellick has just told me, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you who it was. I just was told that
we just got a big dump in Madison County on the website.
Yeah, they're uploading to the website now. So that's very good for us. So now I can start my job.
She with almost 40% in, she is leading substantially by over 6,000 votes.
Is that almost to the point of projection?
Well, at 40%, I would say it's getting. She should be very comfortable.
Absolutely.
Katie Stewart in Madison County with almost 30% in is leading Kevin by almost 3,000 votes. Couple that with what we've seen in St. Clair, she's in a pretty good position right now. There's still a lot of time to go. Something I want to go back to and touch on real quick. We had talked about the abortion rights issue failing in Florida. Florida, as I've gone back and looked, is a state that requires a supermajority to pass an amendment like that. I think it's 60%. It's running at 57%. So it may fail in the sense that it's not going to pass by the rules, but it's had overwhelming majority support.
Okay, that's very interesting.
But that's a state that requires a supermajority to pass an amendment, so it may ultimately fail because it doesn't reach that threshold, much like when we have amendments in Illinois, it has to reach a certain threshold in order to be passed.
Absolutely. And folks, Amy Ellick will be calling in just mere moments. Just got word from her that she's, I think, ready to call in. But let's just go back to Madison County now that we finally have these numbers in front of us. to the first statewide advisory question, which again, that first statewide question was the civil penalties with election workers. And Madison County overwhelmingly has said yes to that first one. For the advisory question number 2, which was the new tax bracket, Madison County has said yes so far with 32% of the vote, 49 to 31 in favor of yes for that new tax bracket. When it comes to state advisory question number 3, that question for reproductive health, Madison County has answered yes so far, 52 to 28%, and an overwhelming victory, I would go ahead and say, for that. When it comes to President and Vice President, Donald J. Trump, the former president, leads currently with 32%. Madison County, we figured that just from the last couple of maps that we've seen from prior years. Nikki Budzinski is up in Madison County in this district.
That's not a surprise, the way that district is drawn.
Is it really? It's not a surprise to you. I thought there'd be a little bit more for Josh Lloyd.
The portion of Madison County that is in the Budzinski district is more favorable to her, where the portions of Madison County that are in other districts are more favorable to Republicans.
It makes sense. And as we're getting more and more further down the pipeline when it comes to this race, Amy Ellick's race, so far, Amy Ellick is winning 19,000 votes to Nick Raftopoulos' 13,500 votes with 40% reporting. So it seems like the Democratic challenger is going to need some mathematic help to make a play.
That's one that over the past few years has flipped from an old Democratic district, and you didn't see particularly the Democrats come in and dump a lot of money in for their challenger in this race for whatever reason. I don't have any inside knowledge of how the House Democrats spend their money, but you did not see a large amount of resources put into that district by the state party or the House Democrats.
Let's take you to the county board race for District 12 in Madison County. This is interesting. With only 16% in, it's a pretty close race. Robert Pollard up over Donald McMaster, 871 to 853. I'll keep my eye on this race because I think that one's got some fight into it. When it comes to the 13th district, Matthew King is winning by a couple of hundred votes to Bryn Concilio over there in District 13. In District 22, Linda Wolf is losing to Jim Trucano by a couple of votes, about 70 votes it looks like. It's anybody's race there. Paul Nikolausley is running for District 23, currently winning against Carol Hogan Downey by less than by 111 votes is what it looks like. Fred Schulte is currently beating Cheryl Haggerty in the 24th District of Madison County. Chris Guy is up over Stacy Leip. And with 0% reporting so far, this must just be early votes or mail-in votes, Jackie Day is beating Jason Palmero right now in the 26th District of Madison County. In Holiday Shores Sanitation District, Jeff Hebernstret is beating Brennan Murphy by about 18 votes. Madison County is overwhelmingly retained Judge Kyle Knapp, Judge Bauer, and Judge Smith. And for this answer, which is a little bit more of interesting just to look at for that separation thought, 42% Madison County said yes, 37% have said no, which for that separation from part of the state of Illinois from Cook County, it's at the bottom of their roll here. With only 32% reporting, you would have thought, or I would have thought looking at that, it would have been higher.
Yes has 42,000 votes to no 37,000 votes.
Or 42,000. Sorry, they don't have percentages now. They just had them on it. 42,000 votes to no's 37,000. So I think it's still it's not Jersey County or Macoupin.
It's a little tighter than I expected. To be entirely
that's what I'm
honest
saying here, Dan, is the fact that it's that close because I didn't think it would be. Now, for that Staunton question with building bonds, so far only very few people reported so far. Yes has 146 votes to the no's 109 votes. Getting back to the national side of things, there are more projections that have just been made. I'm trying to figure out what state was just called and where. Donald Trump has 188 electoral votes currently so far. Are you seeing anything?
I'm not sure what they just called. I've still got
this
it at
is a new call. There are 10 electoral votes that just went out. The question's going to be what states' 10 electoral votes were those? And right now, I don't have anything, Dan Herket, do you?
No, not at this moment.
We're still waiting to see. Right now, that voter map with 51% of the vote, Donald Trump reclaimed the lead in Kansas, which is just one I wanted to follow along for, more of just kind of curiosity. Is there anything that you can think of as we're awaiting the projections on what it could be? Because, I mean, the number changed on AP. That's for sure. It's just what number was it? Which could be pretty telling of numbers and pathways to victory.
I'm looking at two different places, and I'm not picking up on it.
We're waiting right now. I wonder if we just caught it right whenever they switched the top number. We're still waiting. The Associated Press is saying that Donald Trump has 188 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 99 electoral votes. So far, the Republicans hold an advantage in the House, 108 to 76. No seats have flipped in that I've seen of note.
I haven't seen anything of note at this point.
Right now, the Senate stands at 46 to 36 in favor of Republicans. There's only been one flip, and that was an expected flip in West Virginia. The governors, 24 Republican governors so far, 22 Democratic governors so far, and still not an update on where those 10 votes came from. We will get one for you here shortly, I'm sure. It's just trying to stand by here. We'll take you back to Macoupin County here real quick before we start getting our conversations going. 60% of the votes have been accounted for, and with 80% reporting, Amy Ashby is up by 25%, so that one's pretty much all dead in the water. You never know. There's always a chance, but right now, it's looking pretty good for that race. In Jersey County, all of their votes are pretty much all but accounted for. And Dan, are you seeing anything?
No, nothing that's surprising to me.
With that being said, we are still waiting for election results. Calhoun County has an update.
We have some Greene County votes.
Anything interesting in Greene County?
What they're saying on their website with 22 of 22 precincts in, it looks like the independent Grummel for state's attorney is going to beat Schaaf, the Republican.
Really?
That's what they're showing me.
Whoa!
They're saying 22 of... Well, I'm not overly...
You weren't surprised there.
No.
I was a little bit on that.
I still have a little bit of feeling for Greene County.
Do you? So nothing that's really surprising?
It looks like, based on what I'm seeing, that the incumbent Democratic coroner is going to lose to the Republican. That they're showing 22 of 22 precincts in Greene County.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Just to tell you where we're at on the map, the New York Times have just called for a 72% chance of a Trump victory, but guys, it's too early.
Stop looking at the needle.
We're just throwing that out there. The market is actually to switch to Kamala Harris's favor in the betting line of things, in case people are wondering. But right now, it's a toss-up, and that's where we're at. We're waiting for Amy Ellick. We're waiting for Tom Hain to call, and we're going to have some conversations that way. As we're just awaiting. Right now, if you're both candidates, you're still, I think, both of them feeling pretty good.
I'm sure there's a lot of nervousness. I'll be entirely honest. There's been talk that former President Trump would declare victory early. We'll see if he does.
We'll see. And honestly,
there's a long way to go, in my view, looking at the numbers.
Well, no, it's not. We're just not even getting started. I think this is just an appetizer, Dan Herket, is what I'm thinking. As we're getting now back to Madison County, here in Illinois, 62 of 191 reporting, and we now are getting more updates. 89%, 50% of the vote has just been delivered in Madison County, so we're getting these updated very quickly for you now as we're starting to work, folks. Nikki Budzinski just pulled ahead of Joshua Lloyd in this congressional race.
I can probably give you a district-wide on that one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that now, because that should be over.
What I'm seeing is district-wide, almost 33% in, she's up 54-46.
Very interesting to see that one play out. Getting over to the state reps race, Amy Ellick's up by 6,000 votes with 55% of the precincts reporting. Katie Stewart up 3,000 votes, and if that holds, it's going to be a re-election for Katie Stewart here in a couple of minutes' time. When it comes to some of the county board races, I wanted to go back to District 12. Robert Pollard is holding a very slim lead right now over Donald McMaster, 871 to 853. So that's going to be interesting to follow just for Madison County goers. And then Matthew King is leading with 0%, really about 1% of the vote reported by about 120 votes. So really going to be one to kind of watch for too. Paul Nicolosi has just pulled ahead of Carol Hogan Downey by about 100 votes. Linda Wolf is now beating Jim Trucano, and Fred Schulte is beating Cheryl Haggerty with 0% of the vote so far. 57% of the vote reported in District 25, where Chris Guy is beating Stacy Light right now. And then District 26 looking pretty much the same. Back to the AP just to see if anything has shifted, and it hasn't. 188 still for the former president, 99 for the vice president.
The New York Times has it 178 to 99, so I don't know where the discrepancy is between the two.
Absolutely. There is a discrepancy somewhere, and we're going to figure it out.
As I'm seeing nothing colored in.
I'm not either.
I am seeing some reports out of Georgia, just to give you an idea, in some of those suburban counties around Atlanta. The vice president is overperforming President Biden, but I don't have numbers on if former President Trump is overperforming his numbers in the rural counties. So it may be a whole wash. These are anecdotal things that I'm picking up on as I'm trying to to be Karnak the Magnificent and give you some idea of where this is going.
Absolutely.
It does look like in the Senate race in Ohio, Sherrod Brown is down with almost 60% of the vote in, so that's something to keep an eye on. If he does lose, that would be a Republican pickup.
Okay, that's going to be interesting to see now, too. St. Clair County, let's go back and take a quick check at them. Mark Kern was. Oh, sorry.
The one thing I'm seeing on St. Clair County is we're not getting anything out of East St. Louis yet, which we all know is more of a Democratic stronghold.
Yeah.
Our Democratic votes. I'm not seeing that reported, so I'm guessing what we're seeing on St. Clair County is the rest of the county. That's all I can guess at this point.
Well, and as we're awaiting our phone calls with Amy Ellick, and Tom Haynes should be calling in here in a couple of seconds, as we're rolling up to the top of the hour, where really the busyness of the night starts to take effect a little bit.
Well, something also to look at on the new software Madison County has is if you do dive into a race where it allows you to, you can see precinct by precinct, where it says there at the bottom on the right. Mm-hmm. If you click on that, it'll show you precinct by precinct in the districts.
Very interesting. If only you had this a couple of years ago, Dan Herket, huh? You didn't have to work as hard to find it.
Well, I'm still old school. I like to have the paper in my hand. But from what I'm seeing in the Stewart Keevan race, there's 24 of 55 precincts reporting is what the county's website is showing me.
And pathways to victory start to narrow up at this point, do you think?
I'm not going to make a judgment on that at this point because I don't know the exact precincts. I'm just diving into them now.
We're awaiting our conversations here with the elected candidates. And those are going to be starting soon, but I wasn't going to start calling people and saying call in when we didn't have at least some
I think
data.
We've got a pretty good idea of where things are going now.
The Associated Press, no, the New York Times has just called Utah. I don't know if the AP has called that as well. They have. The AP has just called Utah, taking it up to 198. So with that being said, it's top of the hour here. 9 o'clock on election night as we're getting more results coming through. And we'll keep here We'll have conversations with the state's attorney, Tom Hain, Amy Ellick and company right after this quick one in downtown Alton. Ready for fantastic deals? Head to Village Dispensary, where every day is a celebration. Start your week with 25% off Dog Walker pre-rolls on Monday. Tuesday, enjoy 25% off Divs gummies. On Wednesday, enjoy 30% off Nevada pens. On Thursday, it's 30% off CQ sodas, margaritas, and more. Friday, enjoy 3.5 grams of Megatron by NGW and Cronuts number 4 by Paul Bunyan for $25. Visit villagedispo.com and shop now.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh-made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
RiverBender.com on the scene Tuesday night, election night, November 5th.
Hey, we're going to come back here now. We are covering the election, but folks, RiverBender.com's #1 commitment is making sure our community's safe. John Hendrick, the owner of RiverBender, is on the scene at Godfrey Road. This is what we're seeing now. Picture in picture, we'll do this. You can hear RiverBender.com owner John Hendrick describing some of this scene.
RiverBender.com on the scene Tuesday night, election night, November 5th. We're on the Godfrey Road and we're looking at a water main break that caused a lot of damage to Godfrey Road and closed it down for the evening. We're looking right now at a heave in the pavement. You can see the pavement is raised about 3 or 4 inches there. It kind of looks like a puddle, but it's not. That's this concrete, or the asphalt rather, that is split. If you look over here, there's another split where it's raised up. I guess the pressure from the water has raised the pavement. This damage looks like it goes all the way from where Little Caesars restaurant is down past Ranch House and all the way down to Shivers Ice Cream, or Shivers Frozen Custard. And crews are out here working on it. I understand it's an IDOT problem here, or at least it's their territory. Looks like they're going to get out some equipment here and try to maybe knock down the humps so they can open the road back up again. We don't have any official report yet from anybody here in charge, but just wanted to get out early and show you what the damage was looking like. Obviously all 4 lanes have Godfrey Road have been closed down for quite some time, for at least maybe a couple hours here this evening. And they're going to be closed for a bit longer, it looks like. Get the full story on RiverBender.com.
As you can see there, Godfrey Road closed in both directions for a good portion of that, avoided at all costs. Man, I'm kind of glad we're in the studio tonight. That rain really did catch some people. And what I think is encouraging, though, with all this rain, we aren't getting the turnout numbers lower than what people, you always think, is the weather keep people away? Does this keep somebody away? But it looks like voter turnout's looking pretty healthy. With that being said, let's get back to some of the results here in Madison County. Again, we're waiting for State's Attorney Tom Main. He's supposed to be calling in any second. Amy Ellick's going to be calling in as well. So we'll be bringing you those and just kind of hanging out. We both knew going into this it wasn't going to be the most glamorous night as 2020 was, but to be able to bring you some results. Let's go back to Missouri, shall we? Might as well. Let's take a look at some of these. Missouri, when it comes to sports betting with 8% in, are saying yes now. Okay, we got some wiggle room here. And when it comes to the question in Osage River Casino, they're saying no currently with 9% reporting. And the abortion question, the right to an abortion, 52% saying yes. With that being said, Dan, fill me in. Are you seeing anything that's holding true to numbers or anything that you're looking at?
Nothing that's shocking me right now.
We're awaiting a phone call with State's Attorney Tom Haynes, so we'll take that break and we'll get him on the line. It's 9:07, little bit of change. Election night coverage continues.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Lennox system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox, innovation never felt so good.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible. Covering auto, home, business, and life insurance, our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
You won't find a better health club than Nautilus Fitness Center. More cardio, more free weights and equipment, more classes, a swimming pool, and more. If you're serious about your health and want to make a change, then stop thinking about it and visit Nautilus Fitness Center on Industrial Drive in Alton. Don't fall for the hype you get from the other health clubs. Nautilus is the Riverbend's premier health club. Has been for years and will be for years to come. Get to Nautilus Fitness Center and get started on a healthier new you.
Welcome back to our election night coverage right here on RiverBender.com. CJ Nasello here with you, and joining us on the line now, is the state's attorney for Madison County, Tom Hain. Good evening, man. How are we doing, sir?
Kind of seems like morning, doesn't it?
Man, I'm telling you.
Morning, maybe morning in America again. Who knows?
Well, State's Attorney Hain, this time around you ran unopposed. And just right off the bat, take me through this night, just what it means to you as both a citizen and as an elected official, seeing your constituents casting their votes and airing their opinions with all of us.
I tell you, I voted today. I like voting on election day, although, early voting is increasingly popular and it's catching on. So that's good too. But I always go on election day, and I went with a couple of my boys, and, it just always gives you chills to go vote. It's just such a wonderful thing. It's an amazing privilege we have to vote in this great country and to make your voice heard. And growing up, you always dream about being involved in politics, or I know a lot of people do. I did, certainly. And then to see your name on the ballot is such a privilege. And then, 2 times in a row to see your name on the ballot. So it's just a great honor. I am incredibly honored to be state's attorney. I take it very seriously. I know the trust that people put in me is it's not a light duty, and it's important to keep our communities safe. And so I'm looking forward to doing a good job these next 4 years, and to do my very best to continue the progress we've made over the last 4.
Well, and State's Attorney Hain, you ran unopposed in the general election this time around. What's that feeling like when you don't have a challenger on the ballot? Does it give you more time to focus on the task at hand, or what are some of the thoughts that you had about that as you led up to this point?
Sure. It's a little odd because you feel disconnected from, obviously this is it's a very controversial election season in basically everywhere else. But here in Madison County, we just seem totally united. There's no question the Republican Party is, speaking for the values of Madison County. And I think that showed in the lack of any candidates from the Democratic Party, a party that has a long and storied history here locally. So to have a united county locally that's moving forward, making real progress, making real improvements in people's lives, keeping the tax burden low, keeping our streets safe, doing whatever we can to fight against frankly, the insanity that's coming down from Springfield on a daily basis. So I think that it's a great time to be in Madison County. It's a great time to be a Republican in Madison County, and I think we're just going to keep doing our best.
Before I let you go and keep your night moving for you, there are a few folks that are in your party that are in races right now. It looks like Amy Ellick, just getting some of the numbers, is feeling pretty confident and comfortable, and has not been declared the winner yet, is looking like that should be the case. Also, Jay Keevan, another Republican, taking on Katie Stewart. Have you had conversations with the party today just on the thoughts for the contested races and board races? What are they feeling?
I think they're feeling good. I think that it's still pretty early.
Yeah.
So they're over right here next to me. I'm out at the watch party here in Edwardsville.
That's what
so
I figured.
We're all pulling for them. We're praying for them. We're buying them a drink, and everybody's concerned, but I think I really hope that they can pull it out. They'd be great leaders in Springfield. Springfield needs more conservative voices. It needs strong leaders to speak for the values that we have here in Madison County, and they would do a good job. So I really hope that they pull it out, that Amy can continue to serve, and that Jay can bring his experience to the State House.
And State's Attorney Hain, before I let you go, what's your final thought just for the general public tonight and the folks that are listening to us? Bring them the results. What are your thoughts going forward? What do the next 4 years look like for the State's Attorney's Office?
Well, I think the next 4 years for the State's Attorney's Office, we want to build on the changes that we've made over the last 4. We have really done an enormous lift to revitalize the office, modernize it, bring in new procedures, a bunch of new software, to increase our staffing levels, to make sure that we prioritize and focus on violent crime, and can track our metrics a little bit better. And I think that the next 4 years is going to involve really letting those changes settle in and become strong trends for the future. It takes a lot of effort to build a culture in an office, especially in a prosecution office. It takes a lot of effort to build trust with the community. It's hard won and easily lost. And so I think that we really want to continue to prove to the community that if you suffer from a crime in Madison County, you're going to have a top-notch prosecution unit. They're going to do justice for you. And that if you're a criminal in Madison County, you're going to face stiff justice. So I think that's our goal, and we're going to continue moving forward, and we're going to continue to hire fantastic prosecutors. We're going to put them in court, and we're going to go toe to toe, and we're going to fight for victims of crime.
State's Attorney Tom Hayne, man, thank you so much for calling into the show tonight. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Can't wait to have that full-length conversation and get back to the fun out there.
Absolutely. And if you're a praying man, now's the time to pray for our country.
Absolutely.
It's in a tough spot. So we'll be saying an extra rosary in my house tonight for sure.
Absolutely. At 9:16, State's Attorney Hayne, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks.
Getting back to the conversation here, Dan, I wanted to bring you in before we took a break. Always great to hear from elected officials, and just hearing their thoughts. It seems like Edwardsville is the place to be for watch parties tonight. Are you seeing anything as you were doing some notes?
Not presently. It appears that the conventional wisdom that this was going to be a close race is coming to fruition.
Well, we'll keep it there. Why don't we do that? 9:17, now that we got some conversations going, we'll take a quick break and make you sit around and wait for a second. More coverage of election night continues right after I give you some results. How about that? I'm going to be a little bit nice. In Madison County, we'll just check and see if any more precincts have been reported. Still at 89 of those 191 precincts. And then in the St. Clair County side of things, 35% of the vote in so far is what I'm seeing. Mark Kern's up 58% to Ryan Musick, the Republicans, 41%. So quick break, more coverage after this.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh, made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
Get paid to go solar.
We're not solar bros. At Grid, we're solar pros. We explain the process behind solar power so you can make an informed decision. We'll work with you to make owning your power as simple as possible and affordable with zero down financing and payment options. Our only goal is to save you money. Call Grid when you're ready to be independent of the power company.
We are Phillips 66 Wood River Refinery. We make the fuels that take us to work and our children to school. We make materials and energy products that allow us to stay connected to each other. We care about the quality and safety of our products because we care about the communities we share. Our employees live our values of safety, honor, and a commitment to act as good neighbors where we live and operate. We are Phillips 66.
I just got a new air conditioner, top of the line.
I bet mine's better. It's so efficient and quiet, I hardly know it's running.
I've got you both trumped. I've got a Linux.
So do I.
Barrett Heating and Cooling carries Linux products to meet any budget. Don't gamble with your energy dollars. Call Barrett Heating and Cooling and start saving today.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
When life throws unexpected challenges your way, you need a versatile legal ally to protect you. Sean Lentz, with over 12 years of experience, is here to help you in a variety of avenues. From personal injury to criminal defense and even semi-truck accidents, Sean Lentz has your back. Don't wait for the justice that you deserve. Call 618-465-8000 and see how Sean can help you today. .22, welcome back. Dan Herket in studio. Election night coverage continues on RiverBender.com. Colorado just officially declared victorious for Vice President Kamala Harris, who is now up to 112 electoral votes to former President Trump's 198. Getting stuffy in the studio, Dan.
A little bit.
You know, with that being said, so let's talk about this. Where do we stand right now?
Right now, we're still in a waiting game.
To me, I don't know about you. To me, I feel like we're just where we were when we started currently.
It's coming down to a very, very tight race.
Yeah. We're awaiting more conversations. Representative Ellick will be calling in. So will Chris Slusser, the new county board chairman. Now, when does the official transfer take over for countywide officials?
I believe it's the first week of December.
So it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround for the counties in Illinois.
Makes sense. And that's good to know just for folks that are going to start seeing the articles on RiverBender.com. With that being said, let's take a look back. Let's go back to this AP poll, or this AP electoral map, and just see where we're standing here on a national level. This is where we're at. 198 votes for former President Trump to Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, is 112. Currently, right now, as you can see, Pennsylvania is starting to switch back and forth a little bit on who's gaining the more.
I would say at this point, this is coming down to a tight race, and it's going to come down to whether Harris can hold the blue wall or not.
Is there a certain county in Pennsylvania you're looking at?
There's multiple counties in Pennsylvania.
Okay. With that being said, too, Georgia, there's about 80% of the vote counted for.
Now they've got it at 91%.
So at this point in time, is it a waiting game, or are we just?
It's a waiting game because you have these counties around Atlanta that you're waiting for votes to come in. Overall, it does appear, at least in some of these states, that the former president is pumping his numbers up in rural counties. The question is Harris pumping up her numbers anywhere in the urban counties? And we don't know that 100% yet. I'm seeing reports all over the place right now. It's hard to get a good handle on that, but it does appear that the Trump campaign trying to pump up particularly white male voters is coming to fruition in some states. Does Harris make a difference with pumping up female voters in her case? So that's what we're waiting to see. We've seen this in 16. We've seen this in 20. It takes longer for the urban counties to count. They're larger. Yeah. Some of these states we may be waiting till tomorrow. But I would say right now, if I had to give my honest assessment of where it's at, it's coming down to the blue wall and whether Harris can hold on to the upper Midwest.
Something we were looking at earlier was if Georgia holds, or Georgia holds for the Democrats. And if that was the case, her pathway to victory got substantially easier, correct?
It is better if she holds. If she loses Georgia, it's the blue wall again.
Yeah.
I kept eyeing North Carolina because if she flipped that to her column, that would make a huge difference in her math. And right now, it's looking like that may be out of reach, but I don't know. I'm still trying to look at these.
Yeah.
That's not a state that, I mean, they put a lot of resources in and they worked it hard, and where it ends up at remains to be seen. But if I was the Trump campaign, I'd be feeling much better about North Carolina. And right now, Virginia is much closer than I think people expected.
So we do have some updates here locally in Madison County. Let's go back to those real quick. In Madison County, for the General Assembly, the representative for the 112th District, Katie Stewart is still commanding that lead of 3,000 votes, 3,100 votes to Jay Keevan in Madison County. Now, there is another district in St. Clair.
I was just looking up.
Katie Stewart has 13,605 votes currently in Madison County with 40% reporting.
In St. Clair County, she's running 55-44, about 1,500 vote difference, something like 1,300.
Going to be interesting to see that one and how that plays out. Amy Ellick is up 6,000 votes right now to Nick Raftopoulos, with 55.17% of the vote being accounted for. 21,738 votes for Representative incumbent Amy Ellick and 15,034 for the Democratic challenger. Now, when it comes to this county board race that I keep going back and looking at because I find this just so fascinating, is down in District 12. Donald McMaster is still losing, but only by maybe 11 or 12 votes to Robert Pollard, 67%.
I've got Pollard up right now.
Yeah, he's up. That's what I'm saying. He's down by about 12 votes to Robert Pollard, 871 to 853.
They're only showing me one of 6 precincts reporting in that.
So that's going to be interesting to see, though. I mean, you just never know when it comes to county board races, it seems like. You know, or how does the board member races differ from a county chairman or a county...
Well, the board are in districts.
I mean, but does your race change as a manager or a campaign liaison?
It's an entirely different type of race. To me, a county board race is one on the doorsteps more so than a county-wide race in a county of this size.
Very fascinating. Wanted to go back over and just see if we had any more amendments and propositions to talk about. 16% is reporting now in Missouri. We're getting a more accurate number. 52% are saying yes to sports betting, so that's holding true. Now, if you're an Osage and you want that river casino, you're getting a little grumpy at this point in the game. 20% are saying no. There's still a ton more votes out there. Let's go back to that House race. I just want to see how things are looking just in Missouri District 2. Wesley Bell won very big in that first district. In the second district, it's looking a little bit tougher for the challenger here, as Ann Wagner has a 10-point lead, and this is something that Hartman and I did talk about today or yesterday, was just that if it was within maybe 5 points, there's something to look at. But right now, it's safe to say that Ann Wagner could be holding on to her seat. Getting back into the St. Clair County side of it.
They have just declared Hawley the winner in Missouri in the Senate race.
Did he beat Lucas Kuntz officially?
It's just being declared by, I'm assuming, the AP.
Very interesting to see. And that would not be a flip. That's just a Republican hold. So, did the Ohio Senate seat flip?
They haven't called it yet, but it's increasingly looking bleak for Sherrod Brown, so that could be a Republican pickup.
As we're talking about this more.
And right now, in another contested race, Bob Casey is down by a very small margin in Pennsylvania, with only 55%, and he's down.
He had an interesting end to his campaign. I want to ask you, just because it seemed like his messaging changed. You know, it seemed like he was, he put up this thing about how many times he kind of went against the grain. Is that detrimental to your campaign whenever you start saying, well, here's how many times I went against my party?
Well, it depends on what. I'm assuming that was driven by some kind of polling or focus group somewhere. I didn't follow the messaging that closely in that race, so I can't really comment on the change.
The only reason I can, that was the only Senate race I really got to kind of follow along just to hear some of the verbiage, and I thought Casey looked pretty comfortable there, but we'll see. I mean, I
always thought it was going to be close, but Casey is a guy that I thought would hold that seat, but I also Sherrod Brown has always been able to win in Ohio going against the grain, but maybe his time has finally come up.
We are now getting the picture painted in St. Clair County more. 50% of the vote. Mark Kern is up still by about, give or take, 8 points, 53%. Or sorry, about 5 points, 53% to 46. So he's looking. Mark Kern's going to be returning to the county chairman seat if everything holds true. Though all their precincts are partially reporting now in St. Clair County, so it's just a matter of time before we get.
No, I still don't see anything out of East St. Louis.
Oh, you don't have their any numbers yet?
I'm only seeing.
Here's what's interesting. We have a switch for circuit clerk in St. Clair. For about an hour, I kept talking about Kenneth Williams Sr. leading that race, and now it appears Cindy McDonald is up by 3 points in a pretty tight race. Now there's a ton of ball game left.
Well, there's those votes in East St. Louis that we have no idea about right now.
And normally a Democratic stronghold, so you aren't feeling nervous at all. If you're...
Well, I don't know. We've seen over the past few years that the vote share that comes out of East St. Louis has gotten smaller.
Has it really?
Yes.
Is it just turnout issues in East St. Louis?
No, I think it's population change.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
No, very fascinating, Dan. I loved your insights on that. And now getting back to this, 50% of the vote. The county recorder's a close race too in St. Clair. Don't know if you're seeing that, but 50% to 49%. Michael Crockett Jr. over Jason Madlock. And then that's kind of just where it sits right now. Calvin Dye Sr. still leading Dean Darnall by about 3 points. And that's really just kind of where things sit. I want to go back to Macoupin County now that they have 75% of their votes in. I should have a pretty good picture, I would think.
I'm showing 100%.
Or maybe I just need to hit refresh here. Sometimes pages upload at different times, and 100% of the precincts, but I'm still seeing voter turnout. They got about 7,000 more ballots on my end of things. Is your end done?
I'm seeing precincts reporting 100%.
Okay. No, precincts report. They said that there's some ballots still out that they haven't accounted, but that pretty much means it's all done, right? I mean, it says 75% voter turnout, but that could just mean ballots cast to registered voters, right?
They're saying how many ballots were cast. There's 31,000 registered voters.
Gotcha. So they are saying this is done.
For all intents and purposes, they're reporting 45 of 45 precincts 100%. Now there could be some ballots that were postmarked today that come in, but I don't think any race is close enough for that to make a difference.
With that being said, Amy Ashby has won the county circuit clerk's race over Dana Carr Skinner with 100% of those precincts reporting. That will be the real only, contested race. Joshua Lloyd beat Budzinski in that portion of the 13th district. Will it amount? I don't think it does at all at this point in time. And that's pretty much it. That's all of what's happening in Macoupin County. Now, wanted to get back, though, to these referendums for Staunton, because in Macoupin County, they have more of that block. They are saying yes to issue $26.1 million in school building bonds, 56% to 43%. So that looks like it'll go through, just counting some of the Madison County leftover votes that were a part of that. And in reproductive freedom, that went very high as well, 63.71 to 36.29. And let's take a look back just in Madison County. I don't know if they had any more. My phone has gotten pretty quiet, and I think that folks are kind of gathered around talking right now.
Well, I think they're having a good time if you're in the Republican Party in Madison County right now.
Well, and honestly, we knew that going in Madison County that this was going to be the way it looks. Yep, Josh Hawley, St. Louis affiliates now jumping on that call too, so that's a good call. Anything you're keeping an eye out for?
I just did a double check here on another spot in the 111th district with almost 68% in. Ellick is leading substantially with 59%, and in the 112th with 60% in. Stewart is leading with 56%. So I would think both of them are feeling pretty good.
Positive.
One other race to watch in St. Clair County is that 114th district. Former Rep. Latoya Greenwood, who was defeated 2 years ago, is back for a rematch with incumbent Schmidt, and she's leading right now, but there's still a lot of votes to come in that race.
Wow, that's one to watch, though. That's an interesting one, too. Let's see here. Jersey County's, all of their votes have officially been tallied. For that, just going back, folks, just to kind of go through some of what Illinois was seeing today on those questions on the ballot. The first one was for the civil penalties for elections, and overwhelmingly, the state as a whole has said 88% yes to 11% saying no. The state as a whole for the new tax bracket overwhelmingly saying yes, 61 to 38. The reproductive health question, number 3 on the ballot, 73-17 to 20 for yes, 26% saying no. So how does that equate to Jersey County? To that first question, they all said yes. 87% of them did, at least 87 to 13%. On question 2, no was the answer, 52% to 48, which I find very fascinating. Question 3, for that 60-40 split on the yeses to the nos, and Donald Trump wins Jersey County, 75% of the vote. And really just no other races to be had in Jersey County from what I'm looking at. Dan, am I missing something in Jersey County? And I'm not being funny.
I actually closed out Jersey County. I've closed out Jersey and Macoupin and Greene because those are pretty well all done.
Still waiting some of the more interesting polls to come in, and I swear if someone tells me to look at the damn New York Times needle again, I am going to lose my ever-loving mind. We'll take you back to what the electoral map is looking like right now. Here's what we see on our feed. Any House races flipping, Dan Herket?
I have not even had a chance to look at the House at this point.
Was there any real contest? Because, I mean, honestly, were there a few?
But the House is going to be decided in New York and California predominantly.
And see, this is where I find it fascinating, is that New York split, where you get a lot of
if you really want my opinion, the Democrats botched New York 2 years ago and cost themselves the majority.
Wow.
That's my...
No, but I love this honesty, because we have to talk honestly about these things. You can't just take credit for the good.
The way they drew their districts and the way they ran their races up there. I mean, you even had a close governor's race up there 2 years ago.
That's right. I forgot. Hochul didn't win by that much.
No, she had a very, very tight race considering where New York has been. So that I could go into histrionics about the DCCC and House races. I don't have a high opinion of the DCCC.
Let me ask you about this, because you were talking about, when we started the coverage tonight at about 7 o'clock, women. Now, the question was also going to be, is Donald Trump able to get the younger males out to vote? Is there any indication on where we're at when it comes to that conversation?
I haven't been able to dive too deeply into it as we've been sitting here, but I do think that in a lot of states, he has been doing well of turning out rural, particularly white men, but rural in general, which is a stronger suit for him. The urban areas tend to be Democratic, rural tends to be Republican, but it does appear in some states that they've done a good job with that.
The race for Kansas is just about over. They're getting ready to, AP is a prime to make their projection now. We aren't going to call it yet, but there are multiple sources saying that the projection will go to former President Trump in Kansas. But it was one that I watched.
No, I fully expected that.
I know that you did. It was just one. The way that they responded in the midterms in Kansas was very, I think, a good check and balance.
And they do have a Democratic governor,
yeah.
So that state does shift around a little bit, but I just didn't see any major change there.
How important is honesty when it comes to elections? Not honesty with results and all that, but I'm talking honesty with the candidate, to know where they're at, to know what we're looking at. Because I'm sure... I don't know where the votes are in the 13th district, but the AP has Joshua Lloyd up substantially on Nikki Budzinski. Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
With 75% of the votes counted.
Whoa. That would be an upset, I think.
That would be a flip that I did not see coming.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I don't know where the rest of the votes are, but he is up substantially based on what I'm seeing right here.
That surprises me.
It surprises me.
Because, I mean, and this isn't a political bias, but it just seems like it was more of a bipartisan approach in the Budzinski 2 years. Wow.
I mean, she won the race with about 56, I think.
Last
2 years ago.
Yeah, I just saw that number, yeah.
And right now she is down considerably by 60,000 votes. And wow. I don't know county by county. This isn't giving me, I'm trying to get more information on that.
Here's what we do know.
Aha, they're giving me more. she's losing apparently substantially in St. Clair County, unless there's something crazy.
Are we not seeing something on their map?
I'm going back to the St. That was just surprising to me.
Yeah,
what I'm seeing.
That is very surprising to me, and it's not. Wow.
No, see, something is wrong with the AP numbers. I'm telling you that right now, because St. Clair County is showing Nikki Budzinski up by 12,000 votes, but the AP is showing her down in St. Clair. There's more votes. I just don't.
There's something up.
There's something up here.
Okay. Well, and that could just be an oversight thing, and
there's
just
something going on with the AP. Because when I look elsewhere, she's winning where she should be winning.
We have some projections to make now. The Iowa poll on Saturday was just what it was, an outlier. Donald Trump has won the state of Iowa. AP is projecting that Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, has won the states of Iowa, Kansas, and Utah, taking his electoral count to 210 votes.
None of those is a big surprise.
No. Now, in terms of just social conversation, Iowa could have been one that would have been interesting.
I would like to see at the end of the race what the final vote total is, because I never thought there was some mirage there that Harris was going to win Iowa. I just wondered if that Selzer Des Moines Register poll was picking up on something late in the race.
But she's a good pollster. She
Extremely
is
good.
not a slouch at any step of the form. I mean, she's been on it.
That's the gold standard, particularly for the Iowa caucuses, both sides. And like I said, I didn't see that as some harbinger that some massive shift had happened in Iowa. I just thought, maybe is it picking up on a shift somewhere where there may be a shift in some demographic? And we won't know until tomorrow, but clearly I want to see those final numbers and hopefully some exit polling numbers just to see if there was.
So here's where we're at right now. In just terms of our map, we'll bring it back here on the screen here. Let's see, go on the scene. As you can see there, the 2024 presidential election results show Vice President Kamala Harris is at 112 electoral votes, winning the state of Colorado.
Just FYI, that compared to the New York Times map, that map sucks.
It's a little slow.
They actually color them in on the New York Times.
Well, I have it switched to certain precincts instead, so it's not going all red and blue. It could. I'm just being a little bit difficult with it to just see some things. Yeah, I probably should switch that to red and blue. With that being said, we'll change the map. But Colorado does belong to Vice President Harris. She has won the states of New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, and the District of Columbia, along with the great state of Illinois. Currently, right now, she leads in New Mexico. Donald Trump has been declared the winner in Montana, Wyoming, Utah, pretty much the typical Republican Midwest states. There's too many to list for us to keep kind of going here. I was really hoping somebody else would call in. Are they kind of, what do you think there?
I don't know.
Huh? Okay.
I assume they're having a pretty good night.
I would hope so. I mean, there's a lot to be positive about if you're Amy Elliott.
If you're a Madison County Republican, you're pretty happy right now.
I want to thank State's Attorney Tom Hain for calling in so far. Getting back into this,
I'm still going back to this 13th district thing.
This is so interesting.
The AP is showing probably about over 100,000 votes in St. Clair County, and St. Clair County in that district is only showing, less than 40,000 votes. So, and they're showing 97 of 97 precincts partially reporting. So I don't know what's going on with that.
You got me.
Because I dove in on the AP side on that race, and they're matching up with the Madison County results. So there's something goofy going on there.
It's got to be, because I just can't see this, man.
I can't see a change like that, because they're showing.
I mean, that's a 20-point change.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean,
they're reporting what Madison had. I could go back and pull open the Macoupin County, and I could go pull in Sangamon and parts of this district, but I'm flabbergasted right now.
Honestly, I am too. Especially for this one. I mean, you and I kind of.
Because of that district, I'm looking up other election authorities to see
what's going on here. Do they have Madison at 90% reporting?
They have Madison the same as Madison's reporting on their website, but this whole St. Clair County thing is just weird looking.
Wow. Oh, we are getting a phone call from Representative Amy Ellick, so why don't we
I'm going to
do
keep
this?
digging into this.
Representative Ellick, I'm going to put you on the air if it's okay.
Yes, go ahead. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, we're going to plug you in now here, Amy. Let's see here. Go ahead. Representative Ellick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. So, number one, how are we feeling?
Feeling really good. Feeling really good. I am just really pleased and honored that I'll be able to represent the 111th district again, and grateful to the voters and the citizens of the 111th.
What was going through your mind today, if it's okay for me to ask? You know, the thoughts of just this campaign coming to a close. You were out working pretty hard. What were your thoughts today?
Well, I think just gratitude for all the people that have helped along the way. You kind of get a little sentimental towards the end of a campaign, and you kind of feel like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I know that there's friends and family and supporters that have helped me along the way. So I think that's where you get to on the day of the election.
And you know, at this point, you know, you're definitely going to be moving on to another term in office here. What are you looking to do at this point? You know, you have 2 more years ahead of you. Is this time to catch your breath?
Well, I think it's full steam ahead on.
I was hoping for you.
Yeah, no, I don't have time to catch my breath. We go back to veto session next week, actually. So we'll be back in Springfield next week already. So full steam ahead on my priorities of trying to lower the cost of living for Illinoisans, trying to keep taxes in check, lower real estate taxes, and my goodness, we have the former speaker on trial as we speak for corruption charges. So there's plenty of work to be done.
And what have been some of the conversations you've had today with some of the folks in the Republican Party in Madison County running for office? Has everyone just had this kind of positive energy? Because talking to State's Attorney Hain, some uncontested races, and it seems like your message in Madison County is ringing true.
Yeah, I think it is ringing true. And I think that's just a culmination of hard work over a long number of years by a lot of people to try to find great candidates who fit with their district and who work really, really hard for their constituents, and also inform and are transparent with their constituents and make sure that people are up to date on what's going on in the county. But also, let's face it, the county has held the line on taxes for a long time under Republican governance, and that's really important to people, and I think people appreciate that.
Well, and Amy, before I let you go, because we're just trying to keep everybody moving here, because I know that you guys have more, I'm sure, conversations to have, and just these quick conversations just to let us know how you're feeling about your victory tonight are really meaningful. But what I find fascinating is you were actively working your district, and we've talked throughout the campaign about some of the work you and your team were doing. Did the conversations that you had with your constituents that you met or just maybe had a phone call with or an email, did their concerns ring true to the voting results that you've seen currently locally?
Yes, absolutely. The data that we had showed that the cost of living and the high tax environment in Illinois was the number one concern. And I think that that's how people voted. They voted for candidates at all levels of government that they felt like could help solve those problems. So I do think that rang true, and just look forward to trying to keep working on solving those problems.
Well, I hate to ask you this, but are you already looking towards 2026 at all?
Absolutely not. No, but I will tell you, in these short turnaround, these 2-year terms come up very, very quick. It's 2 years ago seems like 10 years ago, but also yesterday in some ways. So, but no, tonight I am not looking ahead that far. I'm just getting through the evening and looking to see what my colleagues in Springfield are doing in their races. I haven't had a lot of time to go analyze everybody's races, but just excited to see what happens.
We're dissecting one race right now currently just to see where numbers add up on a statewide level. But Representative Ellick, what's your message to the public? You've been on this show a couple of times, and really, every time you come on, there's no script. I ask you what I'm feeling and what I think the audience is. But after all of this, now the hard work has paid off. 2 more years. What's that final message tonight on this 5th day of November? Looking forward to another Amy Ellick term in the 111th district.
I think my final message is just thank you for putting trust in me. It's not something I take lightly. I hold it very dear, and I'll continue to work very hard to make sure that I am living up to what you expect of me and to what you expect of a good representative.
Representative Ellick, congratulations on your victory tonight in Madison County in the 111th District. You're welcome back anytime. I know it's going to be a few weeks because you got to get to veto session, but just wanted to let you know you're welcome back anytime, and congratulations on your victory.
Thank you so much, CJ. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. The time's 9:50. We'll take a quick break. More election night coverage after this.
Ready for fantastic deals? Head to Village Dispensary, where every day is a celebration. Start your week with 25% off Dog Walker pre-rolls on Monday. Tuesday, enjoy 25% off Divs gummies. On Wednesday, enjoy 30% off Nevada pens. On Thursday, it's 30% off CQ sodas, margaritas, and more. Friday, enjoy 3.5 grams of Megatron by NGW and Cronuts number 4 by Paul Bunyan for $25. Visit villagedispo.com and shop now.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh-made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
$9.53. Well, we do know one thing. Amy Ellick's moving on.
Stewart is too.
Now, there's just this question, and it's got to be an oversight. And I'm not saying that to downplay Mr. Lloyd's performance tonight, and I'm not
saying he couldn't pull an upset, but not by, I mean, the numbers.
Is a 22-point swing.
Yeah, the numbers that the AP has for St. Clair County just don't add up. I
wonder if they got the wrong county too.
The amount of votes they have compared to what, and we don't have East St. Louis yet either.
No.
So I'm not putting much stock in the 13th right now because of what they're showing.
Well, and just wanted to come back. We just talked to Amy Ellick, who we just declared the winner here. I mean, the poll, the numbers just mathematically were pretty much impossible at this point in time. And just going back to some of the local election, we have a couple of minutes left, and if more folks call in, they do. But you know what I like about this, Dan? We both went in with the same impression. This is not 2022 with 7 contested races right in our own backyard. This was going to be more of an observational state. And, you know, right now, what?
No,
I thought you had a.
No, I was going back to the county to look at the county board races one last time.
Pulled the heart. That's what Ray Hartman used to do to me all the time on the air. I'd open my mouth and go, "What do you have to say?" I'm like, "I don't know." Fill time now. Amy Ellick with 88% reporting is up by a couple of thousand votes, by about 7,000. It's what it looks like. Jake Even I would go ahead and say that Jake Even has lost this race.
It's looking that way. I mean, I'm not one to make.
Is St. Clair fully reported?
I can tell you here in a second.
Do that. Madison County is 100% reporting for the 112th district. Katie Stewart has 18,503 votes to Jake Even's 15,735 votes.
I'm
seeing kind of the same breakdown.
We're seeing St. Clair County is reporting 149 of 149 precincts partially reporting, so it looks like they've got their precincts. We don't have East St. Louis. It is tightened up there in a lot of these races in St. Clair County on the county side, but that's one of those counties where East St. Louis has a separate election authority, so that's going to make a big difference in a couple of these county-wide races in St. Clair County.
Let me take you to some of these Madison County board races while I have you. 66.7% reporting in the 12th district of Madison County. Donald McCaster is trailing very subtly to Robert Pollard. 873 for Pollard, 856 for McCaster. That's close. Now, Paul Nicolosi, we will project, is the winner of the 23rd district in Madison County. Paul Nicolosi has beaten Carol Hogan Downey by just a couple of hundred votes. That was a tight race up in Maryville. And has that been a Democratic stronghold in the county?
It is. I'm not as fluent in some of the county anymore, but it seems like that part of the county has started to definitely shift like much of the county. I mean, if you go in and you look at Amy Ellick's district, you can see Alton still holding as a Democratic area, but the rest of that district has shifted. So I think you're seeing some of that down in the southern part of the county as well.
I think you're onto something there, Dan Herket. And with that being said, wow, this was a close race. In District 26, Jason Palmero has narrowly beat out Jackie Day by a total vote, 2,686 for Palmero. Jackie Day has 2,673 votes. I mean, that's pretty close.
That one's close enough that you could say, okay, let's see what the ballots come in over the next week that were postmarked by today. It's unlikely, but that's one you could, if
hold
you
your
were,
breath
if you were going to hold out hope.
That's a good one.
I mean, I've been involved in some very tight races over the years, and
the community bond, Staunton bond has passed for the building bonds. Madison County said yes as well. So with those two, that question has been answered. Now, Madison County, with 93% of the vote in, has said 64,000 plus of us have said yes to not being a part of, not having Cook County as part of the state of Illinois. 51,000 said no to Cook County separating. So that's very close compared to the rest of the counties that were out voting on this measure. Now, getting back to the St. Clair County side of things from their website, I'm just going to give you county-wide results. Dan, you can have fun with the...
I don't know what the AP's got.
Listen to this. The race for county chairman has tightened up. Mark Kern has 52% of the vote. To Ryan Music's 47% of the vote. That's getting tighter, but I still am going to hold favor to a probability of winning for Mark Kern, who's had a very strong showing as county chairman for years.
He'll come out of East St. Louis with a lot of votes.
Good to, good to know for that informational point, but just interesting to see this 55% of the ballots.
Well, that's something we've seen in St. Clair County. The outside of East St. Louis has started to trend more Republican, like most of Southern Illinois.
Interesting. And now 149 of 149 precincts have been reported in St. Clair County on their county website. I don't have the Budzinski race for you. I'm just going to hold tight on that because there's something different. Cindy McDonald is the presumptive circuit clerk, barring anything, up by 5%. Mark Kern has won this race as well.
I'm not going to make any projections there until we get the East St. Louis vote.
Yeah, you're right. We'll see what that does. Now, how many voters are in East St. Louis normally?
I would have to actually look it up from
a couple thousand
previous elections.
A couple thousand, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, that's good. Then that's good information for me to have, too. Jason Madlock is up currently, but this is where the East St. Louis vote comes in for county recorder because he's up by 1% with all of the precincts reporting. So that's going to be a little bit interesting and probably where you hold your breath for that one just to see where the votes are coming in from. Nothing is being reported yet from East St. Louis. Are you seeing that too?
No, I'm not seeing. Well, yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
The state of California has just been called for Kamala Harris from the Associated Press, taking her total up to 167 to Donald Trump's 210. So we're out of time. It's 10 o'clock. There's pretty much all we've said is pretty much going to be on repeat. But I'm going to give you my final thoughts, and then I'll give you yours. Just because we're here now. For all of you that keep saying, look at the meter, they are saying that there's a 90% chance that it's going to be a Trump victory. What that means, I don't know, because if you guys remember 2016, that thing changed 8,000 times in 30 seconds.
So did it in 2020.
That was even worse. So don't put any stock into it. That's my final thought. But honestly, here, guys, here's my final takeaway. If you're upset that maybe your party didn't have a candidate in the position you wanted to vote for, put your name on the ballot next time and run. You know, do something.
As somebody that's had their name on the ballot, everybody should do it once in their life.
I think so, Dan, and I think that's a good point to make because you see these uncontested races, and you can't have your side's point heard if you aren't putting your name on the ballot to make it heard. You know, that's just my takeaway.
I couldn't agree more.
With that being said, what are your final thoughts on the evening?
If I had to guess right now, the Republicans will take the Senate. I
think the Democrats have the House.
It's a good possibility, but it's going to be a long time before we know because of California.
Okay.
And when it comes down to the presidential, can Harris hold the blue wall? That's what it comes down to.
Well, time will tell. It's 10:01
and on that one, we're probably going to be waiting for a little while.
Yes, we will. So with that being said, we'll say so long for now. Let us know how you think we did. Hey, for 2024 being a boring election year for Madison County, we still made 3 hours of content.
Well, it's fun not to be, as much as I miss the trenches, it's more fun to be sitting here and not be sweating one out.
The good thing is the sun comes up tomorrow.
It certainly does, and the world's still going to be spinning. So if your side, this is what I said in 2016 to my friends on the left side of the aisle, and I'll say it no matter who wins or who loses tonight. Don't be sad. Get up tomorrow and go back to work and win the next one.
That's all it is. And we'll just see. All right, we're pretty much out of here. With that being said, the 2024 coverage of the general election as far as we're concerned on RiverBender.com has ended. Stay tuned and updated for that AP update on Budzinski's race. That's the only thing I can think of. We'll have more coverage for you tomorrow. But, wow, more numbers keep trickling in. Just so you know, it did drop a couple of percentage points already. Doesn't mean nothing. All right, see you tomorrow. Hey, guess what? It's just another day. And there's been 46 of these elections so far, 44 elections for president.
Oh,
There'll be another
the
40
exact number. We're electing the 47th. So.
And there'll be another 48 more elections. Who knows?
Well,
time will tell.
Keep your faith.